is not part of the Greenbelt, but in 2018, the province proposed to grow the Greenbelt into Simcoe County as a key area to protect threatened water and farmland resources. Now, that didn't happen. That wasn't implemented. The plan had been consulted on, and some of you were probably part of giving input into that. It wasn't implemented, but I think the point is that the protection of water and air and those resources don't know boundaries of a government policy. And so so one of the things, go to the next slide, one of the things that was built into the legislation in 2005 was a review every 10 years of the Greenbelt to look at what was working, what wasn't working, where there could be expansions or protections or not. And that review was intended to support municipal goals in order to provide planning certainty for councils, again, environmental and watershed protection and agricultural systems preservation. One of the issues that we did deal with was the relationship between the Greenbelt and farmland. And so to my mind, it's really important that we check in on a regular basis to make sure that that is working, particularly for the agriculture community. So the reason I'm here as a representative of the coalition, if you just go to the next slide, yeah. So there's a current opportunity, because it is 10 years this year that the review should happen. And so what we're asking is that you look at the motion that we have proposed, that you support that motion for a review. So I just want to be clear. The motion is not asking for a specific adjustment to the Greenbelt. It's not asking for anything specific to be done to the Greenbelt, but what it is saying is that there's a reason to have a review of the Greenbelt, and that it's something that needs to be checked in on regularly. And so what we're asking is that you support that review, that you work with MPPs to make sure that there's an evidence-based, if there are going to be changes, that they are evidence-based and that there has been adequate consultation with municipalities. And then in that process, to see if there are ways that the review of the Greenbelt can be an advantage to your community, to your town. So, so the motion is about forming the intention and sort of nudging the intention to have this review. I think that the government is prepared to do the review. I think there has been certainly the beginnings of a commitment to do that. But if we can get municipalities to be on board, then you can have input early and you can start to form the discussion. So that's what the motion is about. And I won't go through the whole thing. But the resolution is just that the final whereas is, given that there is a requirement in the Act in 2005 that it be resolved that Council support the exploration of opportunities to expand and strengthen Greenbelt protections within and beyond this municipality, and that the Council calls on the Province of Ontario to collaborate with you, the municipalities, with Indigenous nations and stakeholders in identifying and protecting additional lands of ecological, agricultural, and hydrological significance, and that you share this motion with the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, the Minister of the Environment, Conservation and Parks, and your local MPPs and the association and AMO. So that's really what we're here to propose to you. There are a number of municipalities that have already passed the motion. We're trying to canvass all of Simcoe County to get that support. So that is it, unless you have questions.
Very nice. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Appreciate that. The presentation was fantastic. Any questions or concerns from council? We have the motion in front of us. It's in your agenda. So if I don't have to read it, Councillor Harper, you have a question? Are you moving the motion?
Yeah, there we go. Thank you, Mayor. Former Premier, thank you for your presentation. When you're reading out this motion, are you saying that the province of Ontario right now doesn't want to collaborate with municipalities, Indigenous nations, stakeholders, and so on?
No, I'm not. No, what I'm saying is that there's been a question because 2025 is the year for the 10-year review. There was just a question about whether that review is going to happen because it's already October, and so it's just a sort of as I said, like a nudge and encouragement to do it in this way, to make sure that there is consultation with all the parties involved.
What's your hope for this expansion or review for Simcoe County?
Well, my hope would be that if not adopting the whole plan that was put in place with consultation, drawn up with consultation with municipalities and the community before 2018, my hope would be that there would be some discussion about whether there are ways Simcoe County could benefit from being part of or at least interacting with the Greenbelt. I don't know the answer to that. That's what the review would be about. Because it really is about how can the municipalities, the individual municipalities, benefit from being part of this collective action.
May I have to do a follow-up, please? So when you talk about the Greenbelt expansion, there's also been talks that the Greenbelt paralyzes towns and it basically forces municipalities into more red tape with that expansion. And that's been proven since 2005, since the Greenbelt came up, when they tried to do a lot of the expansions on the 404 and so on, a couple other Greenbelts. So when we do the review, why would this be beneficial to municipalities wanting expansion of a Greenbelt into the area when it causes already more red tape? And we're already seeing we're paralyzed enough.
Well, I mean, again, I'm not going to get into specific changes that may be made, but you know, the issues of development and building always have to be balanced with environmental protections. And because this is such a sensitive area in terms of source water, in terms of the need for water protection, Simcoe County I'm talking about now, I think it only makes sense that Simcoe County would be an integral part of the discussion around what the Greenbelt should or shouldn't be. And, you know, there may be, to your point, Councillor Harper, there would be an opportunity for this council to express concerns about whether there are incursions into the efficiency of building, you know. But if that conversation doesn't happen, then we're kind of moving blindly into the next phase, and there may be environmental protections that need to be put in place.
Well, I agree that there has to be some kind of balance with the affordability, the fairness, but also local survivability too. So thank you for bringing this forward. That's all my questions.
Thanks for your questions.
I've got Deputy Mayor next.
Thank you, Your Worship. Ms. Min, thank you. Thanks for your time.
You're welcome.
And thank you to the Greenbelt Coalition for their work they do for the environment. It is important. Looking at this motion, I don't see any issues with it. It's asking for a review, and there's nothing wrong with sitting at a table and having a dialogue. But also touching on what Councillor Harper brought up, there are some that we are aware of, some properties that when you sit down and you wonder, whoever did this, what were they thinking when they brought this property or quarter of it or half of it into a Greenbelt and the other half is out? There was no rhyme and reason, but if you don't do reviews like this, then you also don't have the mechanism to bring up those issues. So it's also required in the act that the review has to happen. So I'm very happy, and I want to thank you for taking the time to come up and speak with us.
Thank you, Councillor. And if I can just say that that's exactly the reason the review needs to happen. And you will remember when there was a big public discussion about lands that the current government wanted to take out of the Greenbelt. You'll remember that one of the arguments that was thrown up was, well, the Liberals took land out of the Greenbelt as well. There are always adjustments that need to be made. We just have to make sure they're the right adjustments, and overall, if there's a way of expanding. So for example, we expanded the Greenbelt to include some of the urban ravines and river systems. So I don't think anybody's saying that there cannot be any change. I think that it just needs to be rational, and there needs to be evidence in terms of what those changes are.
Thank you.
Okay.
I've got Councillor Scott next.
Oh,
Good evening. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Premier Wynne. Thank you for coming to our council tonight.
I guess I have to call you counselor, right?
That does sound weird. But as you say, we in the previous government had the plan for the Simcoe County expansion, ideas about a blue belt and further protecting water and our natural environment, balanced with when there were properties in the green belt that didn't make sense. The decade-long review was a good opportunity to try and surface those concerns and resolve them. I actually sat on the Greenbelt under this government, under the Ford government, the Greenbelt's the Ministerial Advisory Council, and we were finalizing adding urban riverways, whether the Humber, the Holland River, et cetera, and working directly with our farmers. The point that I just wanted to make was we had a great celebration throughout the past number of months for the 20th anniversary of the Greenbelt in conjunction with the centennial of the Holland Marsh. And so our farmers are very acutely aware of the need to balance, I think, what Councillor Harper was getting at in terms of any sense of restrictions with environmental protection and protection of agriculture. And we know as a council quite intimately how there is a need to constrain urban sprawl and have smart growth as opposed to gobbling up more and more farmland. So I'm all in favor of doing the decennial review. I think, but for the situation that happened, I suppose it was 2 terms ago with this government, it would be a no-brainer to do it. That's the opportunity for everyone from the development community to individual landowners to come forward and say, this isn't working for me. Or on the flip side, for environmental groups to come forward and say, you should look at these sensible expansions that will help. So, Your Worship, when the time's right, I'm happy to move the motion.
thank you. Thanks, Jonathan. And to your point, I have 4 nieces and nephews and 3 grandchildren who live in Simcoe County. And so, I want to see places for them to live that make sense in terms of the community and the environment.
Yes, well said. Okay, so I've got Jonathan. We'll move it when it's time. Councillor Kite next. And right after.
Yeah, I would like to agree. I totally support this motion. We need to have that discussion. The Greenbelt is a great thing, but it's actually put pressure on South Simcoe County, especially for development pressures, because obviously the growth has to happen somewhere. So the growth has shifted now north, and so we do need to have that protection, especially for our agricultural lands and our wetlands. And yeah, we need that discussion, and I totally agree with it. And thank you for this presentation, Ms. Wynne.
Very welcome. Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you. I'll go to Councillor Giordano next.
Yeah, thank you for coming to our council. I've never had the pleasure of meeting you before. I've heard a lot from Councillor Scott saying how he worked with you for a long time, and stuff like that. I actually seen you on TV many times. That was one of the reasons why I actually started getting really interested into politics, to be honest with you.
My work is done here.
Maybe not for the not for those reasons. The point I'm trying to get at is when it comes to a lot of advocacy groups, special interest groups that come to the councils and they ask for motions to get passed, I'm very worried, and the reason is that they take this and they ask for more after, and they use it to push agendas. And so I'm all about protecting, green spaces here in Simcoe County. I'm very cautious though when it comes to motions. The way that I'm trying to read through is to find out where it can be exploited, and that's what I'm worried about. Is when we start moving down and then you use this as leverage, saying, "Oh, look at all of Simcoe counties," and then you go to the province, which is, I guess now it's a majority conservative government, and you ask them, say, we need to do this, we need to do this, and I have this. Is this being used against us? I haven't had a chance to talk to our MP or our MPP on this in regards to, what their interests are. And so I'm not comfortable today agreeing to this motion because I don't want to do a lot more work. This is not something, we just got this agenda on Thursday. Unfortunately, I was out of town. But when I did read it, it takes a lot more time to really understand the full nuances of what's happening here for me personally. And so I appreciate you coming to our council, and I definitely respect the work that you're doing with this, but I need a little bit more time to be comfortable with this and doing a lot more research with other parties as well.
Sure, fair enough. Thanks.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Ferragini next.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming tonight, and thank you for
Pleasure.
your presentation. I'm okay with the resolution as it is written. I agree with you that we have to have these groups to start the conversation and keep it going forward. A big part of protecting our green belt is also in regards to our water, as you brought up, the Source Protection Act and the water, making sure that our lakes and our streams are constantly clean. We have constant issues with that. And I know that, I think when you brought up the fact about having a conversation with the MP, I'm sure that he would probably even be on board with this, because it might give a little poke as to the federal party in regards to the $40 million that was pledged for Lake Simcoe Cleanup Fund that we never saw.
Absolutely.
So there's these things, we have to have these conversations to constantly say how important these things are and get the proper funding and put the funding where it's needed to make sure that our nature and our green space and our water is kept clean. So I appreciate you bringing this forward.
Yeah, this is not about one order of government protecting the land and the water. And as I said, it's not about one party. It's about all parties and all levels of government working together. And so if there's money that should be coming from the federal government, this is actually an opportunity to have that conversation and say, well, this is on the table, and all these municipalities believe that this should happen. So totally agree.
Good. Kathleen, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
In regards to the Greenbelt, how was it decided? I heard something the other day that somebody told me it was decided based on elevation from water, sea level, or whatever. Is that true, or?
You're asking me to be a scientist now. What I can tell you is that there were many scientists involved. There was a mapping exercise that went on, and the issue around wetlands and water really defined the original discussion, I think. But I can't tell you the technical. You'd have to get somebody with more technical expertise. I'm a generalist, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. And the only reason why I asked that question is because we have a property here in Bradford that one of our residents has been trying to get out of the Greenbelt for a long time. And it's funny how it was drawn, and it went across the property and then back down to the tree line. And you could see it following the tree line with our marsh and everything. It made very good sense. But then it took this jog north around this property and went back down south. And our resident has been trying for years to get out of the Greenbelt because it doesn't really make sense. It's she preferred out of it because she just can't, she farms on it. She's not saying that she doesn't want to farm on it, but she would love it out of the Greenbelt so that, it could help her, I guess, in the future. So it's just interesting how that line was drawn that way, and I couldn't figure it out, and somebody mentioned to me the other day that it was something to do with the sea level. So.
Which it could be. It could be because of drainage. I mean, that's a possibility. I just don't know. But again, that's the kind of question that if your MPP is involved in the review, those are the kind of questions that could be answered. Because your MPP can bring somebody from the Ministry of the Environment or Natural Resources to be here and answer those questions and look at the maps.
Yeah, and I'm absolutely okay with the resolution the way it is. We've got it on our agenda, so
Great.
I'm fine supporting it. I think it's a good thing to review. I mean, we are pressured with growth, and it's always great to look at our environment to make sure that we're doing it sensibly and with smart growth, like we said. So I've got Councillor Dehaney next.
Oh, I can't see that person. Oh, there she is. Oh, you're on mute, Councillor.
You're muted.
Hello. Thank you, Mayor. Hello, Ms. Wayne. It's a pleasure having you here with us. I'm not used to seeing it with the long hair. I was looking for a short hair. But anyway, moving forward, I am definitely in support of this motion. Reason being, I'm a councillor that values sustainability, responsible growth, and also community well-being. And supporting this motion definitely is supporting the community. Of course, clean water, which is a part of community well-being as well. So I don't see a problem with it. I believe it's a reasonable motion. Nothing is wrong with engaging conversation and learning more, right? So definitely moving forward with it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your support.
Okay, so I see we've had everybody speak. So I know I had Councillor Scott as the mover. I've got Councillor Ferragini as the seconder of this motion. And it's in our agenda, folks. Are you okay? Do I have to read it, or are we okay? We got a mover and a seconder. So I will then call for the vote. Sorry? Oh, I have to read it? Okay, here we go. Everybody get a coffee. And a recommendation, whereas the Greenbelt Plan provides permanent protection for ecologically and hydrologically significant landscapes working in tandem with source water protection plans and provincial policy statement to guide sustainable land use. And whereas the Greenbelt is designed as an agricultural forward land use framework intended to permanently protect prime farmland, reduce speculative pressure, and support Ontario's food security and rural economies. Whereas the municipalities face increasing pressure from growth, aggregate extraction, and climate-related risks, and require strong, enforceable tools to protect water, farmland, and natural heritage for future generations. And whereas this council supports initiating dialogue with the province, Indigenous nations, and community stakeholders to explore opportunities for expanding Greenbelt boundaries and strengthening its policies in alignment with local planning goals and environmental needs. And whereas the 2015 Coordinated Land Use Planning Review recommended expansion of the Greenbelt into key hydrological areas such as moraines and headwater systems to further safeguard water and ecological health. And whereas the Greenbelt Act 2005 requires a review of the Greenbelt Plan at least every 10 years, and the next mandatory review must begin in 2025, presenting a timely opportunity for municipalities to shape the future of protected lands and policies in Ontario. Therefore, be it resolved that Council supports the exploration of opportunities to expand and strengthen Greenbelt when the province begins their next review. Council calls on the province of Ontario to collaborate with municipalities, Indigenous nations, and stakeholders in identifying and protecting additional lands of ecological, agricultural, and hydrological significance. A copy of this resolution be forwarded to the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, the Minister of Environment, Conservation and Parks, and local MPPs, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, and other relevant stakeholders. All right, got that done. So questions or concerns?
I do, Mr. Mayor, sorry.
Okay. Go ahead.
My last question, is there any financial cost to the residents doing this or supporting this motion? I didn't remember to ask.
Not at this time,
Okay.
no.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. All in favor, Ben? Okay. Thank you. Opposed? Thank you. Okay. It carried. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Kathleen.
Thank you.
Have a great evening. All right. We're on to 8.2. Baker Tilly, Sue Braggs is going to the audit of the 2024 Consolidated Financial Report. The floor is yours, Sue.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm going to focus on the PowerPoint presentation that's up on your screen. It's on pages 21 to 38 of the agenda package. And then following the PowerPoint presentation is a copy of the draft financial statements on pages 39 to 66. So on the next page, just a couple of highlights for you. So we are presenting the financial statements in draft form. Before we can lift the draft watermark, we need a quorum of council to approve the financial statements, and we're certainly hoping for that today. Important to note that the reason the statements are called consolidated is because it includes the library board as well as our share of both the Marsh and the Police Services Board. And so the anticipated audit report date would be today, October 7th. It is an unqualified opinion, and we will be issuing a clean management letter. On the next page, this is a little snapshot of the consolidated statement of operations, and it includes the budget for 2024 as well as the actual figures for 2024 and last year's actual figures as well. And what I'd like to highlight is about the fourth line down, capital and other revenues. You can see there's quite a difference between the budget of almost 48 million, the actual figures of 12, and the actual figures last year of about 21 million. And so capital and other revenues can vary considerably. We budget to start and complete capital projects, and it doesn't always go as planned. The other thing that impacts that figure is contributed tangible capital assets. So as subdivisions are assumed by the municipality, they are recognized at fair market value. And so there was $8.5 million in assumed subdivisions this year, which included Cachet Estate and phases 7A and 7B of Sandstorm. On the next page, some of the major variances I'd like to talk about under revenues. Net municipal taxation increased 3.9 million, and this was due to both assessment growth and tax rate increases. Other revenue increased about 4.4 million, and This was mainly due to $3 million from the automated speed enforcements and cameras. Under expenses, we have amortization over 20 million compared to about 20 million last year. There were also increases in salaries, wages, and benefits over last year, mainly due to cost of living increases, but there were also quite a number of, or a number of additional firefighters and other new hires during 2024. And then last but not least, the expenses for under protection, you'll notice an increase year over year. And there was about $2 million of new expenses related to the ASE cameras. The next page shows a pie chart of the various revenue classifications, and you can see fairly similar year over year. The other category of 10.8% compared to 6.9%, that's where the ASE camera revenue is included, so that's why you see a difference there. The next page is expenses, and this is by department of the municipality, so pretty similar year over year. The next page is the expenses again, but segmented by type. So salaries and benefits versus amortization, materials, contracted services. The next page is the consolidated statement of financial position, just the financial assets section at the top. You'll note that cash and cash equivalents last year were about 6.3 million and zero this year. It was actually in a negative position of about $7 million. And important to note that both the figures for 24 and 23 are as of December 31st. So they're at a point in time. They can change every day. Taxes receivable were about 8.9 million compared to 6.3 million. And we'll talk a little bit more about that on a following slide. The trade receivables were down compared to last year, and that's mainly because last year included about $2.5 million on a grant from MTO that was received during 2024. The next page is with regard to taxes receivable, but before I dive into that, we'll see throughout the presentation a few different ratios, and we show, how Bradford has trended as well as provincial averages, what the province considers to be low risk. And so again, all of these ratios are at a point in time. The provincial figures are as of 2023 because they only publish those once a year, and they're still in a position where they're waiting for all of the 2024 financial statements to be submitted by the municipalities. And the other thing to keep in mind is that they provide Bradford with comparators, but we don't exactly know who that is. And so they may or may not be comparable municipalities to Bradford. So just a couple words of caution there. So on the taxes receivable, like I said earlier, 8.9 million compared to 6.3 million last year. One of the ratios we look at are the percentage of taxes receivable compared to the total taxes levied. And we have seen a trend across all of our municipal clients for this to be increasing. So the province considers anything under 10% to be low risk. We're at 9.5%, up from 6.8% last year. Surrounding municipalities are just under 10% at 9.7%, and the provincial average that's provided to us is 6.9%. The next page looks at the obligatory reserve funds. So these actually show as a liability on the statement of financial position. They're not shown with reserves and reserve funds as part of accumulated surplus. So these included, about $9.1 million included development charges of about 3.6 million. And these were the development charges that weren't overdrawn at the end of the year. Also an amount of about 2.8 million for recreational land. And then the Canada Community Building Fund, which I will forever call the gas tax funds, pretty similar balance of 2.6 million year over year. On the next page, the ratio that we look at is debt service payments as a percentage of revenues. And the province considers anything, 5% or lower low risk, and we're at 5.4, so we're right there. And the provincial average is about 4.2%. So one thing to note, though, is that in calculating this ratio, we do not include the amounts. There's almost $20 million owing to developers for EPA 3, and those would not be considered in this ratio calculation. The next page is net debt. And so this is, when you look at the statement of financial position, the top section is financial assets, the next section is liabilities, which comes down to net debt, and then added to that is tangible capital assets and prepaid expenses. So this net debt figure, while it includes developer advances of almost 20 million and long-term debt of about 43 million related to TCA, it does not include the assets themselves. And so that's why it's in a negative number. It has grown from 80 million to about 96 million. And so the ratio that we look at there is the percentage of net debt compared to own source revenue. And we've stayed pretty consistent in the last 3 years, even the last 4 years, 117% to 108%. The province considers anything around the 50% mark to be low risk, so we are certainly higher than that. And the reason that the provincial one shows as a negative is because the provincial average actually shows as net financial assets, not net financial debt. And again, you sort of question, okay, well, what are those comparator municipalities? So, no surprise to any of you, you're a growing municipality, you've invested greatly in infrastructure to continue and sustain that growth. And, we have no reason to believe that this isn't going to come down, but there does need to be more development, more permits so that the debt is repaid and the DCs are brought back into a positive position. The next slide is tangible capital assets. And this is the slide where Bradford, West Gwillimbury shines. So the province considers anything less than 50% to be low risk. The provincial average is pretty much 40%, and we've been under 30% for many, many years. And that's because of the heavy investment that we've made in infrastructure. So the total tangible capital assets at the end of 2024 were 620 million. And important to note that that's based on historical cost amortized over estimated useful life. So that 620 million doesn't mean replacement cost, it doesn't mean fair market value, but those it is based on historical cost amortized again over estimated useful life. The next slide continues the conversation about tangible capital assets, and it shows, for example, if you look at the bar third from the right, are linear assets, which include roads, water lines, sewer lines. Of the total amount that we've spent on linear assets, there's only been 29% of that amortized to date. So that gives you an idea of how new and young many of our assets are. Buildings, land improvements, these are all over 50% not amortized. Of course, land is never amortized, so it shows fully there. And construction in progress has not been amortized yet until it's completed and put into service. The next page is accumulated surplus. And, all my municipal clients have heard for years that the accumulated surplus note's always my favorite because it's important to explain that accumulated surplus does not mean cash, it does not mean reserves, it's simply the difference between all of your assets and all of your liabilities. So at the end of 2024, that was about 525 million. Almost 415 million of that is related to your investment in tangible capital assets. There is a general surplus of about 29 million and reserves and reserve funds of almost 82 million. So the ratio that we look at there is the reserves as a percentage of operating expenses. Low risk is 20%. The provincial average is 91, and we've been right in that neighborhood, 87, 89, 84% the last 3 years. So despite our growth and how much we've been investing in infrastructure, we're still, in a good place with our reserves and reserve funds, which is great. The next page is just a snapshot of a couple different of the various categories of the reserves and the reserve funds. And again, comes down to that almost $82 million compared to 75 million last year. I'm not going to belabor the notes that are in the financial statements, but just a couple to make note of. Note 7 talks about the advances from developers related to EPA 3. And note 9 includes just our standard contingency note. You know, pretty much every entity that we audit, whether it's a municipality, a charity, a for-profit, you know, always has some sort of lawsuits or expropriations going on. So it's important that that note is included there. So a huge thank you goes out to Ian and Natalie and their staff. My staff love to come and spend a few days in Bradford a couple times a year to work with your treasury staff, because they're such a pleasure. And I also would be remiss if I didn't do a shout out to my staff. Zach Telfer is the audit senior, and Emily Irwin is my manager, who you know, they really do the lion's share of the work, and I come and do the presentations and the meetings. But big thank you out to them as well. I'd love to entertain any questions that you may have.
All right, thank you, Sue, for that presentation. Appreciate that very much. So far, it looks fairly good that we're in a good financial position when it comes down to our finances. Any questions? Councillor Harper. Councillor Giordano next.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much for coming back and giving us the support. I actually like the part that you put in there in regards to the ASC cameras showing the revenue, but then also showing the offset of the $2 million in expenses. So leaving only, I think, $1 million left over in revenue. And I think that's going to be addressed a little bit later as to where that's actually been going. With regards to the risk in DC or deferral charges or development charges, how do we sit in regards to the future if growth is not really happening?
I'm still on. I didn't see the red light. Well, that's a good question. I mean, I don't think there's any reason to believe that the development is not coming. It's just a matter of time. I think that this is a topic that that Ian has presented to council in the past, and certainly we look at the plans and the predictions, and but you know, we don't set up a receivable for those DCs that are coming. It's shown the tangible capital assets in note 17 are actually shown net of the DCs that are overdrawn, and you know, I wish I had a crystal ball to tell you exactly when that number is going to be positive again, but I don't. I don't know whether Jeff or Ian would have a better answer than I do, but yeah.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Giordano. Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Nice to see you again. I always enjoy these reports when they come through because it's something I'm familiar with when it comes to before an SOP or an AOP. We usually get all this aggregated data provided to us, and then we use it to, you know, basically build our forecasting models, also aligned with like forecasting data to support it. I have two questions. On page 7, under rents, put these on, rents and financial, 2023 we're at 1.7, 2024 we're at 1.4%. Can you just let me know what's in that category? It's under expenses, segmented information.
So are you on the financial statements?
No, sorry, in the presentation that you did.
Oh, okay. All right.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
It just caught my eye for something, and I was just curious. So it's the double pie chart on page 7.
Okay, so rents and financial. I would think, let me reference the financial statements here. So I think that is largely the rent that is paid for the premises that the municipality inhabits, right? Not all of the buildings are owned by the municipality.
Okay.
So I think part of that will be certainly part of that will be the rent that's paid for the properties that are leased by the town.
Yeah, that's why I called it out, because it actually went down in 2024. It's trending downwards. And that's interesting, considering town hall discussion later on today. The fact that we're paying less. So that's why I'm a little bit, no, that's why I want to get clarification on that.
The non-accountant will take a shot at it. This is a pie chart that shows the percentages. The actual number doesn't necessarily go down. So what did occur under expenses is the contracted services went up between 23 and 24, largely again because of procuring our ASC operator. So because that went from 9.7 to 10.3, some of the others have to come down a little bit to make up the difference. So I suspect the actual cost of rent between 23 and 24 didn't go down, but proportionally it did.
That's why I want to get clarification. Yeah, so it's weighted based on the overall. So it's normalized to 100%. It's not the percentage based on dollar value. It's an important fact. Okay, thank you. Second question. Maybe this is to Ian, or maybe the CAO could take this as well. This is obviously looking in the rears, right? So it's looking backwards. I'm very familiar with looking forward when it comes to forecasting. If we were to add a $99 million town hall to the tax receivable, to the net debt percentage and stuff like that, do we have any of that modeling to show where that puts us at? Because if there's certain percentages that we want to, maybe target at a high risk or a low risk factor, adding that debt with the asset, how does that actually implicate us on that scale? And does that have any issues when it comes to our ratings? Does that affect us when it comes to any types of programming, through the federal, provincial governments? Does that devalue us? Does that put us in a different category? I haven't had that discussion yet, but you brought up a good point. There's certain areas we want to be in. We're performing very well in some of them, and other ones we're right on the edge. Having that additional debt for the next 20-something years, what does that do to us?
Can you come up and answer that, or? Because we did see a report further back, I think, that did talk about our debt, where we're going to get to a debt. You know how you get to a ceiling of 25%? So there is a report that we had earlier about that. I should have included that. Well, let Ian.
Sorry, just bear with me for a moment. I'm just looking up a spreadsheet here. So just at a higher level, when we are considering, the financial implications of a town hall, we haven't made any attempts to forecast out what our balance sheet will look like in the future, and then take that information, then weigh that against how the province may or may not interpret those changes or those results. So the only assurance I can sort of provide council at this point in time is with respect to the town's debt borrowing capacity, and after considering the debt that council has just approved a week or so ago with the $40 million, we still have capacity to borrow $160 million and service that well within the provincial limits that are set for us, being 25% of our own net revenues. But in terms of impacting the results that you may see in 2025 and future years, while we will be showing more debt on the books to finance the town hall or civic center over a longer period of time, you're also seeing a very large asset on the books as well. So to some extent, that those balance sheet transactions will effectively will offset one another. So you're going to see a lot more assets, and yes, you will see more long-term liabilities as well. But unfortunately, I think to specifically respond to your question, we haven't done that sort of forecasting or of what a future balance sheet for municipalities is going to look like, and then again layer that into the province's own benchmarking efforts that they undertake, as Sue mentioned as well. The information that they're comparing us against or providing to us is based upon information that's circa 2023, because again they're still collecting information across the province for 2024 results. So I'm sorry I don't have something better to offer at this point in time, but certainly something we can keep our eye on, and as time moves along, I can endeavor to provide something a little bit further.
Yeah, thanks, Ian. So maybe you can just help me understand this. In your charts, you say that the assets aren't included in those ratios. It's just the debt that gives us that calculation, correct? Just want to make sure I understand that correctly.
So specifically when we're looking at the page that talked about net debt, so that would be page 32 in the agenda package on the PowerPoint, that negative $96 million does not include TCA because it's considered a non-financial asset. But the liability figure that you see there of almost $114 million does include the $20 million owing to developers and the long-term debt of, I think it's around $48 million. But the overall statement of financial position includes the TCA below the line, but the province looks at that net debt figure in terms of this particular ratio.
So yeah, so it's funny because they'll take the full liability, but they won't include the asset, and that's the point I'm trying to make, is that that does put us at a not as advantageous position on the numbers when it comes to the province.
Okay, good point. Further comments or questions on this report? Okay, seeing none, I have a recommendation then that the presentation from Sue Bragg of Baker Tilly, Canada be received for information, and that the town's December 31st, 2024 audited financial statements be approved as presented. Mover and seconder, please put this on the floor. Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Kike. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Sue. All right, we're now into open forum. I have a few people signed up, so I will start with, I think it's page 1, I'm not sure, but Mauro Di Giovanni, and he's speaking to 17.2 Civic Center.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for providing me the opportunity to speak here tonight. With regards to the Civic Center, I was here actually the night of September 23rd when it was debated in the committee, and I wanted to point out a comment that the Councillor Harper brought up was we finally got, I guess, a sound number of the 99 million that night. And he brought up the point that maybe we should go to the public and ask them, do they want to take on this larger debt? And obviously with the presentation that just happened here, obviously we would see what would happen with a larger debt, and the times being now, do we need this right now, or can we push this off to 4 years or 6 years down the road? So tonight I was coming to ask, first off, if there would be a recorded vote for everybody with regards to approving the town hall, and secondly, obviously this is going to be an issue this year, or 2026 will become an election year. And what I wanted to point out was a lot of times when governments change, may not happen, sometimes contracts get changed or canceled. And if it would be prudent to add in some sort of backout clause in case a new council decides that they don't want to take on such a large debt in this time of economy. So maybe that's something council may want to look into. Obviously would support the citizens and the citizens' view in 2026. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I have Mary Cowley talking about automated speed enforcement, 11.1, and then you also want to talk about 17. You have a total of 5 minutes for both.
All right, I'll try to go fast. Okay, it's Maria Cowley. I live on the 10th, just on the outskirts, south of the 5th. The first thing I was going to talk about was the speed cameras. I'm totally against them at this point. I'm hoping that we don't keep going ahead with this. I haven't heard too much about other tools that we could be using instead of all these cameras. I know at one of the council meetings when you were discussing them, obviously you guys didn't go through that whole year of pilot project. You kind of decided a little bit earlier to go through with it. But what I was going to suggest is, I know that everybody was saying that it's not the money, whereas some of the residents are saying, hey, this is a money grab. And we can see, obviously, we're seeing some money come in. So if it's not a money grab, what about the fines being less? Let's stop punishing people in a sense and maybe try some of these other tools. Speed bumps, I don't know, like these weird things that we can shove on the roads instead of doing all these cameras. Or again, lessen the fine. If it's not the money, then let's lessen the fine so that you're not punishing people. I find that a lot of people will speed, as soon as they see the camera, they slow down, and then they speed up again once it's over, knowing that they're out of that, whatever, that speed or that perimeter. So that was my concern, is that I'm hoping that we can find some other ideas to deal with it. I also had some questions and some issues with the Civic Center. The gentleman before me, Morrow, was speaking about. Again, I'm not really crazy about this idea. Again, Harper, that was wonderful that you said that, yes, the idea started 5 years ago with council, and sure, maybe a lot of people heard about it, but everybody I've spoken to in the neighborhood, they had no idea this is going on. So this is all news to a lot of residents in Bradford. So that was one of my issues. So I was hoping and to suggest, can we not have a deferral, some sort of open house again? You guys had the wonderful open house at the leisure center dealing with your 2050 plan, growth plan. That was fantastic. You had all the boards, people there, like many people that were on staff, talking, discussing the ideas, having rapport with residents, like a huge, whatever it was, a few hours, different times of the day, so that it's during the weekend, maybe in the evenings, whatever it is, so that we can get some more people in there and actually talk about this, because this is obviously, it's not 20 million, 30 million, 40 million. We're talking 100 million or more. Having a little bit of, obviously, doing renovations. Anybody in building trades knows that when you come up with these plans, they change immediately. You can't, it never goes under budget or on budget. It's always over. Especially with our economics of what's happening right now. Things are a little sketchy. We're not sure what's happening. You've got tariffs, inflation, you name it, people, job loss, companies going under. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of hardships happening in Bradford and everywhere else. So like I said, I was hoping that we could, or at least council would reconsider, like instead of going all gung-ho, can we not bring it back to the residents? And I think I've hit everything, and I'm hopefully under the 5 minutes. All right, thank you again.
Thank you. Okay, Chris, put the timer on. Put the timer. Make sure you have it so people can see how much time they have. Sorry. I've got Earl Glasky, Mr. Glasky. He's talking about 12.1. And you've got another one you're up here for 2, sir. 17.2 also.
Mayor, procedurally, I'm not sure if it's a problem for you or not. I also have an item on the audit report. It was under item 8.2. Can we add that in if it's at all possible? If it's provided, okay, yeah. It's very brief. So I just regarding 8.2, if I may, regarding the audit report, that since everybody's here, on page 19, it clearly identifies there, which is obviously a growing concern. It was identified a little bit here in the presentation, the growing development charges, and that's located on page 19. It appeared last year that they were at like 149 million, and this year they've grown exponentially up to like 162 million. I'm just concerned about the taxpayer risk. That's all. Fair enough. That's included. That's on that item. Further to the one that I did have on the list there tonight, and I appreciate your time. I'm speaking to report number CLK 2025-6, which is under agenda item number 12.1, items 1 and 2. And that's titled Municipal Elections, General Election Matters. And just 2 quick points. The candidate contribution rebate program that's identified in the actual report is outlined and apparently funded by the tax base. If that's in fact the case, that's extremely concerning to me as a BWG taxpayer and municipal voter. Also outlined in this report, so I'll use the acronym CCRP, for the reasons staff outlined, staff do not recommend the implementation of CCRP for the 2026 municipal election cycle. As a resident, I'm in favor of their report recommendation. Thank you. As far as item 17.2 goes, I've already addressed this with our ward councillor, and I'm hoping that makes to council debate this evening. So that was via email to the ward councillor, my ward councillor today, Ward 3, Ben Verkijk, and also to CC to the council members here today as well. My thoughts on 17.2 regarding the Civic Center. Appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have no more people signed up for open forum, so we'll move on to item 10, adoption of the minutes and committee hall recommendations. I have a recommendation. Adoption of council and committee hall minutes. Recommendation that committee hall recommendation COW 2025-48 to COW 2025-51 be approved, and the minutes of the regular council and committee hall meeting dated September 16, 2025 be adopted as printed. Mover second, put this on the floor. Moved by Councillor Harper, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Question or concerns? Anybody want anything pulled? All right, seeing none, all in favor? Carried. We're on to adoption of special council minutes. Recommendation that the minutes of the special meeting of council dated September 9th and September 23rd, 2025 be adopted as printed. We're second to put this on the floor. Moved by Councillor Harper, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Question concerns with the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. We're on to correspondence. Section 11. So we have, Council, we have a recommendation on the floor here for automated speed motion. I will read it. This is correspondence for action. Recommendation, whereas ensuring the safety of all road users, including drivers, cyclists, and pedestrians, is a common priority for all municipalities and the provincial government. Whereas high motor vehicle speeds directly correlate with slower driver reaction time and increased risk of serious injury or death to vulnerable users upon collision. Whereas reducing vehicle speeds helps create calmer, safer neighborhoods that encourage people to use active forms of transportation and to be active in their communities. And whereas municipalities across Ontario are increasingly adopting provincially regulated automated speed enforcement programs as a proven tool to improve road safety, particularly in school zones and community safety zones, and whereas Council identified community safety and congestion as the top strategic priority for their 2022 to 2026 work plan. Whereas in Bradford, West Gwillimbury, speed cameras reduce speeding within community safety zones by 1 to 3 kilometers per hour, change in the 85th percentile, and an average reduction of penalty orders issuance in a zone of 62.95%. And whereas Ontario's police leaders view ASE not as a revenue tool, but as a traffic safety tool with the purpose of deterrence and prevention, helping to change driver behavior and reduce collisions. And whereas by contemplating traditional police enforcement, ASE frees up police resources to focus on other pressing public safety priorities. And whereas nearly 3/4 of Ontario drivers support the use of ASE in targeted areas like school zones or community centers, and whereas municipalities are best placed to develop transportation plans based on their local knowledge and community input. And whereas Bradford and Gwillimbury has developed and implemented a traffic mitigation strategy to meet the specific traffic needs of the municipality, where ASE is used as one tool of a complement traffic calming measures, and whereas Bradford and Gwillimbury has developed an ASE camera placement guideline to ensure cameras are placed in vulnerable areas where other traffic mitigation tools may not be effective or are not feasible. And whereas Bradford and Gwillimbury today, with the Simcoe Muskoka Health Unit, Simcoe County District School Board, and Simcoe Muskoka District School Board, are implementing an on-the-move initiative focused developing healthy habits, reducing traffic congestion, and creating safety in school zones. And whereas the town of Bradford and Gwillimbury supports using ASE revenue to invest in community safety and as part of the 2026 budget. And whereas the varying approaches across municipalities presents an opportunity to promote consistency and alignment with emerging best practices province-wide. Therefore, be resolved, the province of Ontario, through the Ministry of Transportation, work collaboratively with municipalities that operate ASE programs and the Association of Municipalities of Ontario to develop improvements to the ASE program. And further, that a copy of this motion be sent to the Premier of Ontario, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and Minister of Transportation, and to the Association of Municipalities of Ontario Policy Centre. There, it's read. Thank God. Mover and seconder. Moved by Councillor Giordano, seconded by Councillor Ferragini. Question, concerns with the motion? I've got Councillor Scott.
Thanks, Your Worship. Just a few things from me. First and foremost, I was hoping to propose a slight amendment. I just stumble on the recital that says, and whereas the town of Bradford West Gwillimbury supports using ASE revenue to invest in community safety and as part of the 2026 budget. The CIO had a suggested language change that I'm hoping the clerk has, because I don't have it in front of me, but I just worry that that sounds a little too much like the Premier's point around this being a cash grab. We've committed to use these funds to pay for the program and to invest in community safety, whether that was kit for our police and firefighters, accessibility upgrades to intersections and traffic mitigation, which I think is exactly as it should be. I'll just say I respectfully think the Premier's wrong about this, and I'm disappointed to see the news reports about the number of fleet vehicles, the cars given to cabinet ministers, that have violated the ASE ticketing system, and I hope that that isn't an impetus for doing this. They've been proven to work. They're not a revenue tool in Bradford West Gwillimbury. I heard another mayor, who happened to be the former Minister of Transportation, who introduced this program, talking about a resident in tears because he was ticketed for going 4 kilometers over the speed limit. Well, with all due respect to that individual mayor and that individual council, fix your cameras. We calibrate ours to be at a reasonable and significant threshold over, not minor infractions. And I think that's the point. We have so few tools to deal with collector and arterial roads that we need a system that is able to catch and fine people who are flagrantly disobeying the speed limits. And so what the Premier could have, and I hope still should do, is fix the program so that municipalities that may or may not be being bad actors, and it sounds to me that there's at least one, it was the municipality standing next to the Premier at the press conference, they should be made to run their programs reasonably. I believe we are in Bradford West Gwillimbury. I think we've shown that we're trying to have, I think it's just the 5 or 6 cameras spread out into different zones, some rural, some urban, some higher volume of traffic, some lower volume of traffic, based on where we're seeing the speeding needs. And I think there would be, and still could be, a good way for the province to make this system work better. And if there are bad municipal actors, I'd crack down on them. but I wouldn't punish the residents who are concerned about speeding. It was our #1 strategic priority. The kids in a school zone or at a park, the seniors near a senior zone who need some form of enforcement, and we don't have the financial horsepower to have a police officer in every school zone 24/7. This could work. There's other sensible changes. You could maybe only do them during school hours. Maybe that's one way to look at, but to throw the baby out with the bathwater is just a knee-jerk reaction at its worst, and I worry it's being done for the wrong reasons based on what we see in the news. So my suggestion to the Premier is you can deal with the municipalities who you feel are being bad actors without ruining a program that other people are relying on.
Thank you for those comments. I've got Councillor Verkuyk, and then we have a screen. So do you have Councillor Scott's changes that he wanted? Okay. And we also have a screen that we can show. We have a screen that our corporate director put together, Director of Corporations put together for us. So we'll go to Councillor Verkuyk, and then when you're ready, just let me know, and we can show a slide that has a lot of information on it. Councillor Verkuyk.
Yeah, I'd just like to add that I'm disappointed in the Premier, who purports to be law and order and doesn't want to enforce the law of speeding in school zones, and saying that this is a tax grab when in fact what he's proposing will be a giant tax grab, because things like speed bumps and signs and all these traffic calming measures are very expensive. And even if the province is paying for it across the province, there's only one taxpayer. So anyways, it's my 2 cents worth.
That was a lot more than 2 cents worth. I got Deputy Mayor, and then we'll see. And I got Councillor Dehaney next. Okay, Deputy Mayor, then Councillor Dehaney, and we'll go to the screen. Giordano, sorry, Giordano. I was going to get, okay.
I'm okay, I can wait.
Okay. Councillor Giordano, I'm sorry, you're up.
Thank you. I don't think this is about cash grab. It's about protecting the kids and the seniors. And our cameras are in community safety zones and school zones. Our local results show drivers are slowing down. The tickets are gone down. So ASE in my mind is fair. It's targeted. It's not punishing the people. It's punishing the ones that are breaking the law. You don't speed, you don't get a ticket. The only people getting a ticket are the ones that are pushing the pedal down and are speeding. And if someone says they got a ticket over 2 or 4, I challenge them, bring the ticket and we'll look at it. There's no way. I support this recommendation and the motion. I also have an amendment that I would put once everyone had a chance to talk, and maybe the mover and the seconder can consider that just a friendly amendment. I'll read it when everyone has a chance to speak.
Councillor Giordano.
Two things. Number one, the word Catholic's missing from the school, the separate school board. So we need to include that because it's not the actual name of them. And then I'm not going to say it's a cash grab, but it's definitely a revenue tool. Let's be honest. It generates revenue. It generates revenue to the people that are breaking the law. Now we've put these in place, and we've set a very we didn't do it. The staff has set a very reasonable and fair threshold. The problem is that people who live in Bradford work outside of Bradford, and they've probably gotten tickets all over the place. And I can tell you that in Toronto, people are getting tickets for 3 and 4 kilometers over, and they've got hundreds of cameras. So yeah, that's a cash grab. We're using it, in my opinion, as about as fair of a tool as possible, where we're utilizing it with a very reasonable and fair threshold that a police officer would have the same discretionary kind of opinions on whether or not to pull somebody over with, which I think is important. It's not setting it 1 or 2 or 3 kilometers over the limit. But we're investing it back into community safety. And, when I first got on council, we pushed for a lot of speed humps, speed tables, everything else. I can't remember which councillor spoke earlier, maybe it was Ben. It's very expensive to put these in place. So having that camera revenue, which we are collecting revenue, but not all the revenue comes to us. A lot of it goes to the ASE programs that are actually running it for us. and there's staff involved and everything else. So it's not like there's this massive windfall, but it is significant enough where we're able to fund 8 police officers and put some physical speed mitigation in. So yes, it is, I'm not gonna lie, it is a revenue tool. But the way we've done it, I think, is by far an example of how other municipalities should adopt the ASE program. And I do agree with the Premier in some cases, because people are abusing it and using it as a cash grab tool. And they're basically licking their lips saying, this is fantastic. Look, we just set the threshold of 4 kilometers over and we put it everywhere. But I will say, we have it on Holland Street. We have a camera on Holland Street. I know we have 2 high schools right across the street from each other, but that's a main artery kind of through our area. And we have a speed camera there. You know, driving up north to Collingwood and everything else, there's different municipalities that have speed cameras. Those signs are impossible to see. It's unless you're looking for them, it's very difficult to notice them. And I do feel that if the province was going to do something, increase the signs of the speed cameras, regulate them to school zones and areas that are sensitive, that, you know, and have thresholds. And some other councillors have said that, but we cannot say it's not a revenue tool, because it absolutely is a revenue tool.
Okay, thank you for that. I've got Councillor Ferragini next.
Thank you. Yeah, so in regards to the ASE program, I am in support of it. At the end of the day, going through door-to-door campaigning, the #1 complaint is speeding in this town. This has helped out huge. We have data to show that it's actually slowed people down. And we have, it's like other councillors have said, we have a proper threshold. We don't know what that is. The staff won't tell us what it is, but nobody can show me a ticket for going 10 or under over the speed limit. Never seen it. So if you're going over that speed limit, sorry, but you're going to get charged. You're going to get hit with a ticket. It doesn't hit your points. It hits your wallet, and it's a constant reminder. That money has been going, as it's been said previously as well, it has been going into speed mitigation measures. It was unfortunate to hear the Premier just jump on a ban all of a sudden, and I'm guessing, to Councillor Scott's point, there's a few bad apples where there was a zero tolerance policy and it became a couple kilometers over. There has to be some room for error. It doesn't make any sense. You can't just have it that strict. It has to be to the point where somebody actually is speeding. So when he turned around and said that this is just a tax grab, it's actually the opposite to what Councillor Verkuyk brought up. These funds actually have helped put in traffic mitigation pieces in place. We have added more speed humps. We have added more radar signs. We have done things with that money. We have also helped offset the police budget last year because the numbers came in so high that taxes would have gone up substantially. And this year, we're expecting the same thing with the police budget because they've always said that they need help and more money is going to be asked of the municipality, and that's going to affect the taxes. This was a tool to help slow down, because we saw the data that it actually does help slow down, and the funds that are coming from it actually help offset so that more taxes don't get hit to the residents to help pay for some of this stuff. We are only allowed to put these in community safety zones. So they're around schools, high pedestrian use areas, senior residences, and parks. These are the main areas where our community safety zones are. Shouldn't be speeding anywhere in town, but that's where we're only allowed to put these cameras at this time. In the summertime, I was in Europe. They got speed cameras all over the highways, all over. And those have your same signs, hey, police camera coming up, but they have it right on the highways. We are hitting just the community safety zones. That's where they're put. The threshold is there. It's the #1 complaint. It was the #1 strategic priority for this council. It's been doing a great job. And then the argument also comes up, well, you should have more police officers. Do you know how much a police officer costs? If we start adding a police officer, same comment that Councillor Scott made, you're talking an extra $180,000, $200,000 to the budget per officer. You can't have them on every single corner. It doesn't make any sense. And then at the same time, with the speed humps, to the residents who brought up in the open forum, you can't put speed humps on lines in rural areas, on collector routes. It's highly discouraged because of the amount of traffic that it has. This is another tool that has helped us control the speeding in this town, and I'm all for it.
Okay, thank you. I've got Councillor Harper.
Thank you, Mayor. Can we get that slide up that shows the breakdown, please? When this was brought forward by Premier Ford in regards to putting everyone as a bad apple that uses ASE cameras. Right from the get-go, I was more in support of a lot of the other speed calming measures, like speed humps and tables and signs and stuff, and actually have voted against speed cameras. But, you know, as a counselor and with council, you support your colleagues in what's happening and make the best of any situation. And my situation said that we had to be transparent with an activity report showing our costs and so on. And that's exactly what we have been doing. We've been reporting it and not hiding and showing the real numbers and showing where the costs go. And then even in budget time, talking about, no, these measures have to go to safety measures because that's unethical in our view. We all agreed to that. Here it breaks down and shows you exactly what our revenue was, what our expenditures was, and then our net revenue. And as you can see in the actual pie charts, where those revenues actually went to. It went to a lot of safety measures. Maybe I can ask the director to come up and speak a little bit about this. We were at great lengths in conversation over this, and he put this together in regards to transparency. And one of the comments that he made that he can report on, and maybe Premier Ford should take notice of this, and it can be sent to him, is that instead of banning it, call on these municipalities to give an activity report. Show their transparency and where that money went to, because we have nothing to hide here. Director?
Thank you, Councillor Harper, and I want to thank the members of council for your support of the program. Not a popular one by any means, but you know, sitting through almost 3 full terms of traffic committee meetings and digging into these issues, I fully stand behind it, so thank you for those comments. My general take is the town's been operating in compliance with Ontario regulations. The province prescribes to us the fine amount, the signage, the locations through community safety zones. We're operating in compliance with the regime that the province has put in place for us. I would welcome changes to that program to increase transparency, public relations, public support. You know, to create a regime in 2019 and not have that evolve, I think is a mistake. So I solely agree with you. With respect to the funds, there's nothing to hide here. You know, I have an enforcement background, and it's always steered me well to be clear, to be transparent with the community, to be accountable and answer questions. And we followed that same mantra with respect to the ASE activity report. So for anyone following or interested, June 17th, we presented an activity report post pilot project, which was from May 1st, 24 to April 30th, 25. It goes through the volume of tickets issued, the decrease in tickets issued, the decrease in speeding in those targeted locations, and then as well, what happened with the revenue. I think it's worth pointing out that, you know, revenue of 3.3 million is not net revenue. There are a bunch of expenditures, including significant remittances to the province to access license plate data, victim charge components, etc. So any of the proceeds from this program have gone back into community safety for exactly the same reasons that are stated here by council. So that's my general take on it, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yes, if we could scroll down a bit onto this report here. Actually, I haven't seen it, but I know we talked a bit about it. As you can see, the budget impact of that 1 million in revenue as part of the 2025 budget, the following initiatives were going to be funded using the 2024 ASE reserve and the 2025 projected revenue. So police gave us a bill of 1.7 million to the taxpayer. Majority of that net revenue from ASE revenues from people that were speeding went to pay this bill, so it would actually take it off the taxpayer base. Fire prevention, 30,000 went into it, and then 265,000 went towards traffic mitigation, leading that we would be putting 2 million, and that was just from that one budget. Obviously, whatever the report came back to us, we would again, each budget year, discuss what that could be and how we could actually help implement the safety projects as well, if that's my understanding correctly. Okay, good. the next aspect of that is that we do have a speeding problem here in town. It was one of our strategic initiatives, and it's was named by every counselor here who heard it at the door, heard there was an issue here. I could go to any parent down the street and be like, hey, can you leave your kid out front? No. Why not? Even when you're watching them, they're still worried. Why? Because people are speeding down your street. That's why. So there was a huge problem here. We got the TMS involved. We did a lot of work this term in regards to safety, and I'm very pleased about that. There's a lot more work that needs to happen, but it's I'll use the word mature. It's in its infancy here in Bradford, and we have to mature it as we go and grow through it. And that comes with residential feedback. One of the feedbacks was that they said they couldn't see the speed camera signs. Well, guess what? Just on that feedback alone, from Facebook posts out to counselors, we got those signs changed and increased the size of them already on our own initiative because we are that in tune with listening to comments. And I agree that some people think that, you know, if it's one, all get denounced and whatnot. But as you can see here, we're doing a lot of things right and shouldn't be scrutinized for it. But it's going to be hard to keep fighting that because there's been so many years of delinquencies and abuse from other municipalities and large urban municipalities that have just been scorning away at the taxpayer. So I'd like to see that if that Premier Ford could take some of the actions that are good apples and good municipalities that have, you know, awarded the ethical obligation to be transparent and use that, because these mitigations that he's saying, I mean, I don't know if anybody saw the letter he wrote to the mayor of Brampton and just ripped him apart and said, well, you've got like several millions of dollars that you've just been taking, but you didn't put it into the other measures. Well, I remember the conversation when we had, and I believe our resident talked about, we made a decision to move forward. I remember that conversation, and several of us were like, no, if we get that revenue, it has to go right back into safety, or else why even have it at all? And that was a big worry going into the budget. And I was happy that council adopted that measure to put those revenues back into safety, because we know full well what the cost was putting in those calming measures. So I'm happy that about this resolution. I'll turn it back over to my colleagues for their friendly amendments, and thank you for the time. I appreciate this work, Director. Thank you.
All right, thank you for those comments, and thank you, Brent, for bringing that slide to us. Okay, so we do have Councillor Scott's amendment. Is it similar to yours, Deputy Mayor? Is it the same thing, or? Okay, let's see what Councillor Scott's. Can you put his amendment up on the floor? And I did catch the fact, yes, that we didn't have the Muskoka District Catholic School, so we got the word Catholic. We'll add that in there for sure. Okay, and then Councillor Scott's. Do you have his amendment there? Red, where's red? Oh, there it is. Whereas the town of Bradford supports the exclusive use of ASC revenue for investments in community safety programs and actions. That's the amendment. So that removes that whole line about the, yeah, that removes that one and just removes the budget part. Okay. Okay, so the mover and seconder, are you good with that amendment? I think we could have discussion on this one. If we're okay with that, then we'll move to the Deputy Mayor's amendment also. Is that okay if we just discuss this to make sure we're okay with this? And yeah, if there's any questions with this amendment. Okay, so you're okay. It's a friendly amendment, so as long as the mover and seconder is fine. Okay, so we're fine with that, and the rest of the council is fine with that. Okay. Now we'll ask for your amendment, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, and I just want to add, and that the province maintain municipal authority to deploy automated speed enforcement in school zones and community safety zones, and consult with AMO and municipalities before implementing any legislative and regulatory changes affecting the municipal ASC. No, I just to this afternoon. I can send it to you in 2 seconds.
If you just give a second, I want to see if we can put, pardon? Councilor Fergini?
I just wanted to make a comment on the amendment that's being brought forward. With the current amendment, the current resolution that we have, therefore be it resolved, the province of Ontario through the Ministry of Transportation work collaboratively with municipalities that operate the ASE programs and the Association of Municipalities of Ontario to develop improvements to the ASE program. I feel that kind of covers it. I feel that what the deputy mayor is doing might start pinpointing things and making it a bit too specific. This is about actually working collaboratively, because at the end of the day, if a municipality, let's say for instance Vaughan, when Vaughan started it and it was all over the news that in the first week there was, the first 2 days or whatever it was, 30,000 tickets, and it was insane. And the premier's phone's blowing up with all the phone calls and everything that he's getting complaining about it. If the threshold isn't there and it's not done properly, then yeah, I agree fully that there's a problem. But to just come out to the public and ban it, here we have a resolution saying work with us, work with all the municipalities who are using this, because the thresholds could be set. It could be a percentage based on the numbers. It could be community safety zones in those areas. It could be the fines that are received. It could be anything. But that's where the collaboration has to work. And that's what I feel is already covered in the resolution.
Fair enough. The reason I thought of this was when I saw the tweet from the Premier, the letter that he tweeted out earlier this afternoon, basically saying no. The gist of it was that my way or the highway. I felt that if we put in there that, you know, we want to maintain this as a issue that municipality can decide, and second, that before he does anything and say my way or the highway, even though he has the authority to do that and he's done it before, at least consult with the municipalities, consult with the AMO, the proper bodies, getting a few text messages from his family or friends and making a decision is not a sound decision in my mind. This is affecting a safety of kids and seniors and other residents in our municipality and throughout the province, I think. That was the whole thing. If you guys feel that that intent is captured in that motion, I'm okay with it. I just want to make sure that it's not falling on any deaf ears what we want here.
Oh, yeah, I'll get to you. Just a minute, Councillor Giordano. Do we have that amendment that the Deputy Mayor has? Can you put it up on screen? And then Councillor Giordano, you want to go? Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to comment. There's a lot of shots being thrown at the Premier for his reactive approach. And again, when we look at it through our lenses, it's rightfully so, because we're doing everything transparent by the book, proper thresholds, everything else. But may I remind everybody that there's hundreds of thousands of people that are getting BS tickets that are out there for like very minimal thresholds. And he's probably responding to all those people, not his friends and family.
Yeah, I just, no, I'll go to you right now. Okay, I'll go to you right now for comment, and then we'll talk about this after.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to address one of the residents from Open Forum in regards to costs for the ticket. I know we have the director right here, and my understanding is that the prices of these fines follow the Ontario Highway Traffic Act regulation, and we're not entitled to just make up the fines or lessen them on deviation, right? Can you give us an understanding of, maybe just clarify that for me and the resident?
Through Mayor Leduc to Councillor Harper, thank you for the question. Yeah, the fine amounts are dictated by the province. They're consistent province-wide. It's not up to the municipality or the municipal council to set what those fines may be. And it's a bit of a tiered threshold. So the faster that you go, the more that the fine amount increases. And because all fine amounts are within community safety zones, they're doubled relative to normal traffic tickets. But a councillor was right in pointing out that this doesn't hit insurance or demerit points. So the faster you go, the higher the ticket, and they can be quite expensive when compared to traditional Provincial Offences Act enforcement.
So so that helps me with my understanding and what I was thinking. Because it is in a community safety zone, normally it would have been issued by an officer on hand, but because it is a speed camera, is there any wiggle room that we could waive that double fee? Because it's a community safety zone, is there a wiggle room with that? And then that would reduce the fine instead of having it double, but still end up telling them that, hey, you went in a community safety zone, here's your warning, sort of thing, and then here's the regular fine for the Highway Traffic Act.
Through Mayor Leduc to Councillor Harper, we don't have any flexibility to reduce fine amounts across the entire program. We do have the ability through screening reviews and hearing reviews, those are the two appeal processes, to hear case-by-case submissions on instances such as financial hardship, undue hardship, how it impacts themselves or their families or whatever else may be going on in their lives. And then staff, screening officer, staff, or hearing officer, an external adjudicator has the ability to, on a case-by-case basis, reduce or waive those fine amounts. With respect to the reasonableness of the program, I do submit that the threshold here in Bradford was quite reasonable, but we also adopted other measures such as we did a multi-year radar board warning program where letters were sent out to residents in advance of the ASE program. So this would be a radar sign that would go in problematic areas and send warning letters to individuals. And through traffic and SIC committee, we did that for a number of years. We also built in other parameters within our program, like a blackout period, so you wouldn't receive multiple tickets before the mail arrived on the first one and you were made aware of that. So we did entrench measures having the end user, the Bradford resident, the motorist in mind, and in my submission, those are reasonable measures for the program.
Okay. Okay, further comments? Are you commenting about that? Okay. So the amendment's on the floor, and we'll comment on that then. Go ahead, Councillor Faragini.
So to the Deputy Mayor's amendment, what I would suggest by looking at it is, in regards to the community safety zones, enforcement in school zones, consult with AMO, throughout the whole resolution, that's brought up through the whereas parts, because it spells it all out. The consulting with AMO is actually in the resolved, therefore be it resolved. AMO's in there. However, the one part that you added to consult before implementing any legislative or regulatory changes affecting the municipal ASC. That line there is, I feel, important, and that could be added after our resolved part, where it's something similar to the lines of Association of Municipalities of Ontario to develop improvements, to develop/discuss improvements to the ASE program, and consult with municipalities before implementing any legislative or regulatory changes. That kind of idea.
Okay, Deputy Mayor.
You're correct, and I'm okay with that, because that also mentions about the 2 points I was trying to make in that amendment was that province maintain municipal authority for the ASE programs. They provide the guidelines. Let us be the judge how we do it here. That one and the second one that you just pointed out. Those are the two important points in my mind. How we want to include it in this, I'm open. I'm never hard to work with.
Okay, so those two important parts. Okay, so if we could just, the enforcement school zones and consult with AMO, because we already have AMO in there. We're consulting with AMO above, right? We just shorten that. So, and get rid of consult and municipalities before implementing legislative or regulatory changes. So if you left it, and that the province maintains municipal authority to deploy automated speed enforcement in school zones and community safety zones, and municipalities before implementing any legislative or regulatory changes affecting municipal ASA. So you're just taking out those consult with AMO. Just take out consult with AMO. take that one and consult with AMO, because he goes and consult with AMO and just take that out. And there, does that get you 2 points you wanted in there?
We can also take out the other noise if that's easier for the members. Just say, and the province maintain municipal authority to deploy ASC and consult municipalities and AMO before any legislative or regulatory changes are affecting, yet any changes are made. Tara, can you make that change, or you just want me to make it here and send it to you quickly? Yes.
That's the way you want it? Okay. Okay, so that amendment's there. It's written that way. The mover and seconder, do you accept it as a friendly amendment? And we get the 2 amendments. Councilor Giordano, are you?
Yeah, I would have added it to the therefore, but it's fine.
It's fine. You're good with that?
Yeah, I would have just added in there. That's kind of you don't throw a shot at the end. It's kind of any further that should be under control.
So let's take a 5. Let's go for a 5-minute break. Or actually, what time?
I think we're
You're okay?
We just take that third paragraph, stick it in before and further that, and then we got it. No break.
No break. Okay, perfect. Okay, questions or concerns on the amendment? So I know everybody said lots, and I want to go on record. I absolutely support the ASC program, 100%. I think we've done a fantastic job. Our staff council has really worked hard to deal with traffic mitigation. I can tell you that I hope the Premier speaks to a couple of fire services and paramedic services to talk about, because his thoughts were more speed bumps and humps. But if you talk to fire and EMS, you'll see that it takes fire, and they tested it here, 30 seconds to decelerate over the bump and accelerate again, 30 seconds for every hump they go over. We know a fire can double in 30 seconds. A fire doubles every 30 seconds. So that's a real concern to fire services. That's why speed bumps and speed humps are in great locations. They have to be looked at, and they have to be put in areas where it can work. And the same as paramedics. I mean, when you talk about a paramedic getting to a cardiac arrest and they have to go over those bumps, you can't go over them at full speed. You have to slow down, and you've got so much time. And every minute is a worst case for a cardiac arrest. If you don't get to the hospital within 10 minutes of a cardiac arrest, you're pretty well dead. So every minute counts to get people to the hospital. And if you're going over tons of speed humps and bumps, that's a little bit different. So this is one of the tools that we use to do speed mitigation throughout our community. The TMS program that the committee put together is an excellent tool that we continually look at. We're going to continually build on and create other tools that we can do to mitigate speeding in our community, because it was the #1 issue in our community, and it still is a #1 issue in our community. So definitely this is just a tool within our toolbox that we get to do, and it's a tool where we actually can deploy our police in other areas. And the police chiefs of Ontario have said that they support this program 100% because it does allow them to do other pressing jobs that they need to get done. So in my mind, it's a great program, done right, as we have done here. I believe we have done here very well. I wish other communities would come and ask us how we did it, because we were out there quite early when it came down to it. We were one of the first communities out there doing this program behind Toronto and Mississauga, a couple of big ones, but we were out before Barrie and other areas that got in the program. We were there before them. So we have done our homework, we've done our research, and we've done a great job of making sure that it's not a cash grab. We didn't want a cash grab. That's exactly what we didn't want. We wanted to stop speeders. We wanted to go after the 16 and over. That's the person. We can't get to that threshold 16 because that threshold is a provincial mandate that has points in there. So you can't go to that level. But I can tell you what, we're significantly close to that level. And so it wasn't about a cash grab. It was straightforward, trying to get the real speeders that are in our community safety zones in front of our schools speeding way more than I think they should be. Because when you get into snow or rain or whatever, your car doesn't stop as fast as you think it does. So in my mind, for every kilometer over, you add 3% risk to injury. So when you're doing 10 kilometers over, that's 30% risk of the injury, a greater injury to a child. So there's enough data out there to prove that this is a program that would work, and it's showed in our resolution what it's doing in our community and how it's helping reduce speeding in our community. So it's just one of the tools that we have in our community to make sure that we bring better, safe conditions to our children and our seniors and everybody else in our community that wants to walk and enjoy our community walking and not being worried about getting run over. So I'm 100% behind this program, and the 22 mayors that signed the letter I had calls from many people that asked me why it wasn't on that letter. Well, I wasn't invited at that time, wasn't asked, but I can tell you that I have texted the Premier myself and said straightforward that I'm in favor of it, and this is what we believe we're doing right in Bradford. And if he wants to come and see us, we'd be more than happy to have him up here and invite him to show him all of this data. So last, I have Councillor Dehaney and then we'll go to the resolution as amended. Councillor Dehaney.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Well, I'm not going to repeat and echo the same cash grab. Well, I'm sure maybe the Premier is aware of some municipalities that is using it as a cash grab. We know that we are not, so I'm not even going to echo that. So I'm definitely in support of the motion, and I'm ready to vote whenever you guys are ready, so we can move along. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. So we have the resolution as amended. So I'll call for the vote on the resolution as amended. Everybody's seen it with the two different amendments there. They were supported by the mover and seconder. So if we're good with it as amended, all in favor? Okay, carried. And then we'll go back to the original motion, and we'll ask all in favor of the original motion. Okay. Oh. Sorry, there were friendly amendments. Didn't have to go back to it. Okay, we're on to, that's done. We're on to section 12. Staff reports. 2026 municipal election, general election matters. So we have a recommendation that report CLK 2025-6 titled 2026 municipal election, general election matters be received for information. Mover second to put this on the floor, please. Moved by Councillor Kike, seconded by Councillor Harper. Question concerns with this report. Councillor Giordano.
Thank you. Just give me 1 second here to get my notes up. I had a motion a while ago. I think this kind of half addresses it. The motion was to look at an option for a referendum to ask the minister, to ask the people, the residents, if they would consider a Simcoe County separation and to go to the minister with that at our next election. I know that there's some language in here saying that we can't force it, but that's not what the intention was. We can ask the residents. So number one, the election's coming up next year. When does this get addressed? Because we're running out of time.
Madam Clerk, would you like to address that?
Thank you for the questions, Councillor through the Mayor to Councillor Giordano. Just for clarification, are you asking for that question to be put on the ballot or to separate from the County of Simcoe?
I believe there was a motion that was a while ago, April. I think it was around April time, and it was a staff report. Sorry, it was a staff report, and the staff report was to address the fact that it's not my decision. It shouldn't be our. We should ask the people, and the best time to ask the people are when they're voting for their next council, and so the idea was, how do we get that onto the ballot to see if that's what the appetite is, and you know, and I think it's the best time to do it. Doing a survey online or doing an open house where 9 people show up is not getting a proper sample size. So the idea was, let's do this and do this correctly.
So I understand where you're coming from. I just don't believe that the regulation would allow us to put that question forward, just with the parameters that are in the Municipal Elections Act and under the legislation, under the regulation, that the matter shall not concern a matter which has been prescribed by the minister, and one of those refers to municipal restructuring. And specifically, one of the matters is separating a local municipality from an upper tier municipality for municipal purposes.
Right, but we're not allowed to ask the residents to ask the minister for that? The way we word it, I think, is the critical aspect here. If we follow that, we can't do anything. But if we structure it in a way where we're actually asking our residents if they would ask for consideration to the minister for separation, I think is completely within our abilities and guidelines to do so.
Do you want to?
Let me, so you have your report you have a report, you asked for a report for separation, right? And I think that report was supported. So that report's going to come. There's a lot of steps to what you're asking. It's not that simple, but we can go out and do a poll. I'm with you on that. We can go out and do a poll. We can run a poll in our community to ask our residents what their feelings are. We could start with that if you'd like, and have that included in the report. There's many steps to this process, and now this is, I can tell you that we hear you, and I would love to have a conversation with you offline so that we could actually talk about this in particular. And if we can put on the ballot, I would say yes. I would say 100% yes, but I can tell you that we just can't do that easily. We've looked into it for years now. So let me. This report is just about the election itself, and I know what you want, but I don't think, Tara, I don't think you can do it. And Jeff, I'll ask our CEO to comment, but it's not that simple.
Thanks, Your Worship, and certainly we will report back on this. And one of the ideas is the Mayor mentioned is to conduct a professionally conducted poll to get that same kind of feedback. We do have until next March, or Council has until next March to decide whether or not to include any questions on a poll, or sorry, on the ballot. So we'll research this a bit further, report back to Council, and then you can make your decision at that point.
Okay. I look forward to that then. But again, March comes fast, so I know there's a lot of priorities, but this is something that I think that is weighing on a lot of people in Bradford. The other thing too is if we want to reduce council from 9 to 7, that's something that I tabled in the past, didn't get any support on. I'd like to consider that as well. When do we have to address that in order for that to be effective on the next election?
So to change the composition of council from 9 members to 7 members, I believe that is, within order to put that forward for a question on the ballot or to look into further. Again, that's something maybe I can report back on with a little bit more parameters around changing council composition, that type of thing. We can look into that further.
I think my concern is it too late for us to add that to the next ballot for 2026? Because again, I've been holding off on that based on waiting to find out what's happening at the county. Now that the dust has settled over at the county, I think it's time that we can readdress that. But I want to make sure that it's in time for the ballot process.
So we would have time to consider a question on the ballot for the 2026 election. There is a process, as the mayor mentioned, that we do have to go through as far as providing a public meeting, providing notice, and there's an appeal period following passing a bylaw to allow a question on the ballot. But there is sufficient time to allow that process to happen.
I think what Councillor Giordano was referring to is a reduction in the size of council ahead of the upcoming election, which in and itself would likely require a ward boundary review. That can take several months. I would suspect in order to have that completed and in place for the nomination period for the upcoming election, we'd need direction to start that today. So there's a fair amount to go through to conduct that review. It's not something that we've budgeted for or identified on a work plan. It was conducted 2 terms ago, I believe. So it'll come up for review at some point, but if council wants that completed and in place in time for the 26th election, we need to get that underway right now.
Okay, so I've got Councillor. You okay now, or? I have Councillor Kike, and then I'll go to Councillor Harper.
Yeah, so first off, I want to support this this report for information only, because that's what it is. It's for information. And just to the future, I didn't want to support or will not support a CCRP. I just think that it's just another tax grab. And just wanted to point out that typically municipalities do municipal boundary, the ward boundary adjustments and reviews probably only about every 10 years, because they're not cheap and they have to be done properly. And it was just done last council term, to my recollection. And yeah, it's just not something that you just don't just do it on a spur of a moment. It's something that's got to be considered, and you've got to do. There's a lot of studying to do, and it's another expense for our taxpayers, and I can't support that.
Thank you, Councillor Harper.
Thanks, Mayor. I'm back on my colleagues' their comments in regards to requesting the formal resolution. And is there another way that we could actually ask this question on an election matter? And when it comes down to it, it really comes down to a legal standpoint, and we really would have to be creative in asking a non-binding question. So you can't simply just ask, can BWG leave Simcoe County on a ballot? It's really a matter of public interest or provincial interest. So what we could do is maybe find a way to ask somewhere along the lines of this, and Terry, you could probably watch this back again, but you know, do you support the town of BWG requesting the province of Ontario to review the town's governance structure, including the option of separation from Simcoe County? Now, this wouldn't enact separation, because that can only be done by a formal resolution, which the mayor was alluding to. And it really only seeks public direction or a request to review. So it still falls in municipal jurisdiction to advocate to the province. It also complies with Section 8 of the MEA, which was our clerk was talking about, and it avoids violating the regulation 42500. So it can only be binding, again, by once we have that information off of an election point, then we can make a formal resolution. So there is a loop or a workaround to that. Maybe we could defer that part back to staff to really look into the legality of it. And if it is a non-binding question, and I maybe want to comment on after this, maybe that's something we could look at. So if that is something of interest to this council, we defer it. Mayor, I'll put it out there to ask, and then maybe Deputy Mayor wants to comment.
You're not deferring now. Wait to see what the conversations are. Okay, great. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. What this report is asking is to receive this report. But I hear what Councillor Giordano is asking, or what Councillor Harper is asking. I think even Mayor agreed the intent to some degree is the same. Perhaps what we can do is receive this report, but through staff report, ask to bring the answers back to what we can do legally, and time bound that staff report, so it's before us in due time, so we can make a decision based on that by March 1st or whatever that date is. That way you're getting the answer that you need. You requested it, so have it brought back. right? I'm not taking the credit away from you. You can ask that staff report. Yeah, so let's have it and have the answers rather than make a decision on the fly. I would do that, and this is just asking to receive the report, and that what the intention is, that can still be done within the staff report when it comes back.
Yeah. You're good with that? Because this is just some information for general election, but I understand what you're all saying, and it's something we can do, and the staff report, you got it, and it will, hopefully they'll have that fairly soon, and it'll have a lot of information that you're looking for, and we can have some conversations about it, because we have looked into this quite a bit, and you know, there is a lot to it, so not a problem. I think we could run a poll, like a professional poll, just to get ourselves wet and know what we're doing, so. Okay, so this report is just for information, so if we're good with that, we will definitely have a staff report come back with some answers to your questions. Okay? Okay, so any further comments or questions on this report? Okay, I had a mover seconder, correct? All in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay, request for staff reports. Any request for staff report? You already got that one, it's coming. Yeah, yeah, we don't need that one, you got that one, so it's coming. No, I think he has direction. He has direction. He knows. We know exactly what you're asking. Okay, so I don't see any requests for staff reports. We're going to move into committee whole, and then we'll take a. I'm going to resolve the committee. No, that's you. I do that. Committee whole, and then you can take a break, sir. You can take a 5 or 10 minute recommendation that council resolves itself in committee whole at. Sorry, what time is it? 9:01. Mover seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Giordano, seconded by Councillor Scott. All in favor? Carried. Excellent. You yeah. Let's take. What time is it? 9:01. Let's be back at 9:11. 10 full minutes.
Okay, team, we're back. I call this meeting to order at 9:11 p.m. A declaration of pecuniary interest and general nature. Okay. Getting right into staff reports, 15.3.1, micro-mobility program considerations. Recommendation that report LEG 2025-10 titled Micro-Mobility Program Consideration be received for information, and that council pause the town's participation in province's electric kick scooter pilot program and report back following the conclusion of that program. Can I have a mover and a seconder to put this on the floor, please? Councilor Giordano, Councilor Verkuyk, comments, questions? Go ahead, Councilor Giordano.
I support this report. I think we need the province to figure out what they're going to do with these things. The other issue is the manufacturers. There's manufacturers that actually hit the guidelines, and then there's a lot of ones that do not hit the guidelines. They come in and they're quite illegal, very high speed, and at the end of the day, we need to figure out these things aren't going away. I'm sure other councillors will touch base on it. I know I use them, but I also have a driver's license and I know how to use the rules of the road for safety purposes. So, and thanks to one of our residents, I actually wear a helmet now every time I'm out on that because he did bring me some data. So I thought, oh yeah, it's a good point. This brain's actually worth something. So I'll cover it up. Thanks.
Okay, Councilor Harper.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yeah, your brain's worth a few hundred votes, I guess. Yeah. Well, you got them. What? You got the votes. Yeah. Besides the slide comments there, this is really was looking into the commercial use, much like Vaughan has and some other municipalities that have commercial grade scooters in their town. And it came really down to a lot of a liability issue, and that part hasn't been figured out. The province says that they will get back to us by 2029. So that doesn't give me a lot of hope, considering the growth of these scooters in each municipality and on the streets that we see them now. What I would, and this was a lot of discussion back and forth with staff, so thank you very much for helping me figure this out and navigate that. After the comments, though, I'd like to probably add an amendment, though, because I do believe that we have a responsibility to put information out there, and I'd like us to address that. And one of the other municipalities did, and it won't hinder personal use or commercial, but it will make sure that we're acting as leaders in regards to safety and information, and that we create a website or put a post on our website page addressing how to ride responsibly and what to wear responsibly regarding scooters. I am okay with the pause, and at first I wasn't, but it took a little bit of length and many discussions to help me realize exactly what was happening. But I'm happy with this compromise later on. So after discussion points or councillors come in, please come back and I'll add that friendly amendment, please.
Okay, Councilor Verkuyk.
Yeah, so my understanding is if we don't enter into the provincial pilot program, the use of e-scooters is totally illegal in the town of Bradford, West Gwillimbury. I don't know if staff want to respond to that. So I don't know why we'd be putting up a website on how to use e-scooters in our town when they're illegal, but maybe I'm wrong.
Good point. I have the author of the report. Vanessa, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yes, that is correct. If we do not opt into the pilot, and if we do not issue a bylaw permitting use of scooters and e-bikes are illegal within our boundary.
You got that, Councilor Verkuyk? Any follow-up? Councilor Ferragini?
Thank you. So, Vanessa, if that's the case as Councillor Verkuyk brought forward, how would we enforce what's happening today with private use? I use an e-scooter. I go to work with it because it's close to work. It keeps my car off the road. I save money on gas, and I save a parking spot for customers. So how would we enforce that?
Thank you for your question, Councillor Ferragini. We would rely on assistance from the police service to enforce any illegality with respect to e-scooters. They will respond to complaints. Proactive enforcement, I will have to leave that up to them to decide. I did consult with them before writing this report, so they are on the same understanding that we are with respect to that. So technically, illegal use, if you're caught by police, that would have some consequences attached to it. I don't know what they would be, but for right now, we do not permit the use of them here.
Follow up?
Yes, thank you. So follow up. It's unfortunate that we have a different mode of transportation that takes cars off the road, saves on gas. You know, they're fun. And as long as you're following the rules, I ride my e-scooter to work. I wear a helmet. I don't have to, because over 18 you don't have to, which is ridiculous. It should be at any age that you wear a helmet. I wear a helmet. My scooter only reaches 25 kilometers. I'm on the road or the multi-use trail. 25 kilometers and going uphill a lot less because it probably can't carry my weight. So it's all under the rules. I'm okay with everything I do. Now, having said that, we had walk and wheel for the schools, walk and wheel Wednesday, recently, October 1st it was, I think. And at the schools, I was blown away by how many kids between the ages of 7 to 10 came in on a scooter with no helmet. So that is completely illegal, but that's education on the parents. For a parent to turn around and give their kid a scooter and say, here you go, and they have to be on roadways with and they're not wearing a helmet, that boggles my mind. And we've seen the stats in here that obviously there's problems and there's a lot of issues with kids getting hit. We hear it on the radio now, especially in the city. They're weaving in and out. They don't pay attention. There is an education portion to it. And I agree with Councillor Harper on the education portion of it. At the same time, it's not going to go away. They're going to be there. They're readily available to anybody. So to put a pause on this and ban it in Bradford completely, I'm against that. I'm not going to put a pause on it because I think that they're of great use when used properly. Taking away another mode of transportation from somebody doesn't make any sense. There are people who can't have a driver's license. They rely on these vehicles to get to work. So there are the people who actually use it properly, and that should not be taken away from them because of the bad apples who are not following the rules and regulations.
Go ahead.
Your points are all valid. My main concern over the request for the pause is the town isn't ready from an infrastructure perspective to sustain such a program. We don't have bike lanes here. The use of scooters is prohibited on sidewalks. So without a proper place for them to go, where are you going to find them? On the sidewalks, that causes accessibility issues, congestion that's unnecessary. So there are a whole gamut of issues that need to be solved before I believe we can implement such a program within BWG. There's a framework that we need to establish, figure out, connect it with our transit service, all those kinds of things, because that's what micromobility was meant for, as a first last mile to connect to a transit service. So there's a lot of work that we need to do. So I'm not saying no, I'm just saying I don't think that we should be doing it right now because we're not ready. There's a lot of groundwork we need to do first to figure out that linear infrastructure. Are we going to put bike lanes in? What about Holland Street? It's probably the most dangerous road we have here. I can't see e-scooters riding along Holland without something to allow them to operate safely. So I agree with what you're saying. I just don't think we're ready right now.
So to touch on that point, then what about bikes? If we don't have the infrastructure in town for that stuff, what about the bikes that are out there?
Bikes are considered a motor vehicle, and e-scooter is not. So there is a difference. There's distinction under the HTA. Absolutely, it's considered a motor vehicle or a vehicle. So it's different. It's considered a vehicle, so it's different. E-scooters aren't.
Okay.
Your friend at the province.
Thank you. I have Councillor Scott. Councillor Scott?
Councillor Ferragini asked the question and made all the points I was going to make.
Okay, good. Then I'll go to Councillor Verkuyk. He has his hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, e-bikes, as long as they meet provincial requirements, are legal to operate in the province of Ontario. Unlike e-scooters, where the province of Ontario only allows them in the use of where municipalities have a pilot program. So e-bikes are allowed as long as they meet criteria that sort of classifies them as not being motorcycles, but they're allowed to be operated wherever a bike is operated. That's my understanding.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? I'm going to go back to Councillor Harper. I believe you had an amendment. Go ahead.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. What we're really talking about is a micromobility framework, and if we had one in place or built, then we would be able to consistently go ahead with this program and address either the commercial use or personal use, in my understanding, that talks really about the liability that the town would be affected in regards to its premiums or insurance. And because there's no classification on the Highway Traffic Act, and this is all that I learned today, so staff are really helpful. So I think we may have to visit this at some point in a staff report or a budget line in coming back to maybe creating a micro mobility framework for this town. Because 2029, like you said, and my colleague he's using them now, and people are using them for work. So we may have to go above and beyond, because 2029, who knows what government will be in place, and it will be their priority. We don't know, but we do have to be active as leaders. And that being said, I do have an addition or amendment to the motion. If staff can put it up on the screen, I will read it out.
Do you want to read it or you want me to read it?
You can go ahead. I'll come off it.
Okay. So the amendment is that report LEG 2025-10 titled Micromobility Program Consideration be received for information, and that council pause the town's participation in province's electric kick scooter pilot program and report back following the conclusion of that program, and that staff post a safety ride and wear page on the town's website outlining how to ride safety using an e-scooter. Is that okay? You have a seconder for this amendment? Anyone? Okay, Councillor Verkuyk, are you seconding it?
No.
Okay. Any seconder? Okay, Councillor Harper, I'm sorry, looked like there's no seconder for the amendment. Okay, so going back to the main motion, Councillor Ferragini.
I appreciate what you're trying to do, Councillor Harper, but if it's right in the resolution or the recommendation that we're pausing it, then there's absolutely no point to do that page whatsoever for information on safety. So to me, the recommendation is to pause the town's participation, which I don't support because I'm a user of it and I know there are people out there who use it appropriately. If we take out the whole pause part and then follow up with the page, that makes more sense. And we can look into a micromobility program, like you said, for our town. If we have to wait till 2029, we can look into different, I don't know if we have that authority of how we can control how it's done or how the police work. If we have that authority, then we can create our own program around it. But I do not want to pause the town's participation because I feel that it's unfair to a lot of people who use these and have invested in them.
Okay, Councillor Giordano.
My only concern, maybe you guys can clarify this, if we do enter into the program, not only are we fully liable, but we need to be able to be fully compliant to what it takes to be in that program. And that's why I'm in favor of pausing it until the province can define some more things in this, because I don't think, well, you said that we don't have the infrastructure, number one. So then if people get hurt in using these scooters and stuff like that, then they can then sue the town saying, well, you're in the program, but you don't offer all the stuff. So you now, yeah, pay us. And that's what I'm worried about. So I rather pause it, keep it as is, let the province actually wrap their heads around this and put proper guidelines in place before we enter into any agreement.
Okay, I think we had a good discussion on this report. I'm gonna call the vote. All in favor? Okay, any opposed? Okay, it's carried. Thank you. Okay, recommendation that the committee of the whole adjourn at 9:27 p.m. Mover and the seconder, please. Councillor Scott and Councillor Verkuyk. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Back to you, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor. We're on to item numbers, reconvene the regular meeting now at 9:27. Okay, we're on to committee minutes and recommendations. I have a recommendation here that the committee minutes and recommendations, items 17.1 to 17.4 inclusive, be received and approved. Mover and seconder, put this on the floor, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Scott. Questions or concerns with any of the minutes? Seeing none? All in favor? You want to pull something? Which one you want to pull?
I'd like to pull section 17.2.2.
Point two?
And 17.2.14 or dash 14. And 19.1.
Holy.
Oh, no, we're not there yet. Sorry.
yet.
Yeah,
We're not
sorry.
there yet.
But don't worry, it's coming.
Okay, so you're pulling 17.2.2 and 17.2.14.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so save and accept. So we have all these recommendations. So it is item 17.1 to 17.4 inclusive. Save and accept 17.2.2 and 17.2.14. Be received for and approved.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
The problem is the way this is written, 17.2 actually affects all the other 17.2-2 affects all the other 17.2 items that are related to the town hall. So it's the way this is written is actually quite challenging. It's actually, I'm gonna pull them all then. I'll pull everything that's related to the town hall because I don't want to save it as when we're dealing with something else that's outside of that. So it's kind of written in a way where either I pull it all because we can't really just approve a bunch of stuff and then not approve the main one.
Okay, makes sense. So I will do the recommendation in 2 steps then. 17.1, 1 and 2. So that committee minutes and recommendations, items 17.1, 1 and 1.2 be received and approved. That's the first one. That's Accessibility Advisory Committee. That's just 17.1 and 17.1.2. Are you okay with those? The recommendations within the Accessibility Committee minutes. Okay, mover and second, put that on the floor then. Moved by Councillor Harper, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Question or concerns? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. So that's done, and we're on to 17.2. So they are pretty well all the same together, right through to 4, well, 1 to 10. 1 to 10. Okay, 1 to 10, and you wanted 14 polls. So let's work on 17.2, 2 to 10. Okay, 17.2, 1 to 10. That's all 17.2, 1 to 10. I'm saying 17.2, 1 through 10. That's all one recommendation. That's the town hall.
That's what you're talking about, but I'm asking originally when you passed 17.1, there's 17.3 as well, Green Initiative Committee. Are we not?
Oh, we'll get to that after. I'll do that. I'll do it separate, yeah. Yeah, I'll do that separate. We're going to take this in steps, bite-sized steps. So we're talking about the town hall, so it is 17.2.1 through 10. All right? Does that make sense to everybody? You're following? Okay, so I need a mover second to put this on the floor. Moved by Councillor Giordano, seconded by Councillor Harper. Okay, so questions or concerns with this as it is right now? Councillor Giordano.
Okay, so a couple things. So number one, nowhere in here does it have the total price tag of this thing. 17.2-2 just basically says, yeah, we're approving the construction going to tender for the town hall. It doesn't show the value of the town hall in the description. Should have that. And I want to make I want to make an amendment to this. And I'm going to dial back to what was said at the committee. Since then, I've done some research, and the PPP, which is a public-private partnership, is absolutely, in my opinion, a viable solution to, if you want to go ahead. I didn't support the Town Hall Strategic Initiative Committee because of this. If we had a PPP in place, there are literally investors that are lined up looking for, again, I'll use the term blue chip municipalities to invest in. The way they invest in a town hall is we can do a partnership split where we own maybe, let's say, the gymnasium portion and the auditorium. We can further get our grants and whatnot through that, or any other types of funding. And they can build, well, they'll pay and own to get the actual office towers built. With that, we become their tenants. There's an option for VTB, which is a vendor take-back mortgage, even if we wanted to in the future. But the option for us to be a tenant, when I looked at all the costs associated with that, that would knock what, $50-60 million off of our commitment to our taxpayers, and through the grants and everything else, that could further reduce it. This could virtually have almost no impact to taxpayers, short-term or long-term. After when the CFO was talking about the chart that he had, there was about I think it was a $6 million cost year over year to service the debt. That would pretty much be removed if we looked at a public-private partnership. But in addition, what that will allow us to do is, by the time we pay off this building, or even before we're finished paying it off, we could have significant costs. How old is this library? We already had boilers go. We had this and that. So there's a lot of service. We have to replace the lighting. We have to do renovations. After 20 years, when this thing's paid off, there will have to be some significant upkeep in there as well. So looking to a PPP partnership would ultimately give us the ability to decide, number one, it doesn't hurt us in the short term. And in the long term, if the building costs are significant, we can maintain that as a leasehold tenant. I don't have a stat that shows how long it would take, how much, for $100 million, how many years can we rent for based on our current costs? Because what I'm seeing right now is, yeah, it's great. Like I'm all about ownership when it comes to assets. But in this particular climate and everything else, I think that there's tons of private money, private investors that necessarily aren't in the construction business. They'd be happily willing to fund a municipal municipal tenant structure building. So I think that we're doing us a disservice by going all in on the ownership aspect of it and asking our taxpayers. I think we need to go and have either two packages or an option to the package, and it needs to come back to council for decision to decide if we're going to go as a full, once we get all the proposals back, if we're going to go ahead and self-fund, or if we have some good private-public partnership opportunities if we want to investigate that. So I'll open it up to the floor for anyone else that wants to comment on it, but I'd like to make an amendment to that to include the PPP.
Okay, thank you for those comments. So you're looking at a private-public partnership for the administration side of the building? I'm just to clarify again what you had said, because you said we'd own the gym and the performance center, correct?
That's one option.
Okay.
I think that
you're just looking at a PPP, a triple part.
You need to have that agreement in place, and then those proposals will come back. A lot of times they want the admin building. They don't necessarily want to run the gym or the auditorium. Maybe that's what we want to do, right? I don't know. That has to come back from the public. But I can tell you that there's money there. There's people and investors lined up that would absolutely love the opportunity for this. And this is the type of opportunities that they're looking to hedge their investments in, because they'll take the small rent all day long, knowing that it's a guarantee from a municipality. And that will save tens and tens and tens of millions, probably half the cost, if not more, onto taxpayers in the short term. But we haven't even looked at it. And that's the frustration that I have. It's like we're going all in saying, yes, we're going to, we've been taxing everybody for this and saving up for it. And so we're going to continue with it. Well, let's look at the other options. So, well, I don't understand why there's any harm to consider a PPP relationship, especially nowadays in this economic climate. I think it's absolutely perfect timing for us to consider this as well.
Okay, before I go any further, can you prepare on how we would do that, how we would go out and do this dual bid system, an RFP for a build, design build, and then an RFP for a partnership. So I'll go to Deputy Mayor Sandu and see how that, if you can put some thoughts together for that. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Can you help me understand? I still don't get what the amendment is. I hear what you're saying, but then you said it's okay for staff, what I heard, if it's okay for staff to go for RFP, but come back to council and then we decide whether we're going to go the P3 route or some other route, and then we review it? Because I did not see any amendment. I just heard your comments. What is the amendment?
So frankly, I want to defer this until we can get these answers. But if we have to make a decision moving forward, I think the best thing is that when you go to RFQ or RFP, and those proposals come back, there is an opportunity to ask for a private-public partnership, and with that, you'll get applications. The problem is that if we're going right now, we're saying, no, this is what we're doing, and we only have a one-dimensional bid that's going out there that's saying, this is what we're building, and then you guys can make our suggestions, give it back to us, but in there, we have no mechanism like this. There's other entities that would love, and again, I've spoken to them, and they're saying, this is exactly what we're looking for. They're out there looking for investors to find projects like this so they can be a partner within a municipality. So how's that done? I don't know. That's not my day job. But my whole point is, if we're not ready to make that commitment today to even address this, send it back to staff and let them figure out what the approach is. But I don't want to just make a decision today to say, well, this is what we're doing and let's just go ahead with it. I'm not comfortable with that. There's other options and we haven't actually endorsed or looked at them.
Okay, we have 1 through 10 on the table. We have some comments from Councillor Giordano. Further comments? Councillor Harper, you have comments, or you're up?
I'm up. Thanks, Mayor. Again, I think the echo chamber in regards to what I was saying in the committee of a whole a couple weeks ago in regards to public feedback, still weigh just as much here in regards to the price tag. There was a deferral back to look at other sourcing options regarding like PPP. This would allow us the opportunity to host that public survey at the same time to see if this is something that the public would like to have in their tax bracket for the next 20 years based on the final price tag. I went back and watched the video in regards to what we were talking about and, you know, and the types of consultation that has been addressed to the public. And over the last few years, yes, we've been talking about tabling a town hall. Then it was about the feedback was on the 30% design, but no feedback was really been asked if and or what the public would want in regards to having this for the next 20 years. And that metric really has to really come from the residents. We are really all fitting the bill. And even though we have been starting to pay for that, if there is other sources of options in regards to funding it, maybe we look at that as well. But I really would like to hear their feedback in regards to the final cost. I don't know if you guys have been looking at a lot of the comments out there online and stuff, and some are pretty valid. Some don't know, the different levels of budgets that come from federal, provincial, and municipal, and that's okay. But they're still valid concerns. But a lot of it comes down to, do we need this right now? And I'm not saying we do or not. I mean, I just think we should have that metric. I mean, we've been transparent all the way through. What's with the next step? Why don't we do that?
Okay, so let me start off then. We've been at this for well over 8 years. We went out to the public way back. We had discussions with the public about the community center grounds. That was where we selected to put the civic center. We've had lots of public engagement for over 8 years. This was a strategic priority of council for this term. decided in 22. We put the financing away for this building for a long time. It has been since 2017 we've been putting the financing away. We're 50,000 population. We have 8 different locations for our staff. This building builds into the future. It has a full financial plan behind it. It has full savings after 20 years. It's like buying a house. You have to buy a house one day. You go from a renter, and we've been renting for a long time, and you go to a homeowner. And that's where we're moving to. And we have been at this project for a while. It's not like we haven't been out to the public. We've been out to the public many times. The people that are speaking now that haven't been there, they missed that boat back then, but we're still listening to them. We hear them. But you are elected to make some pretty tough decisions. And this being a tough decision, but the finances prove that this building is supportable and it's a savings. And we are asked to find efficiencies. How can you run a $100 million corporation with 8 different locations throughout the community and try and be efficient? And it's a difficult time, but in difficult times, that's when you actually have the best opportunity to get the best pricing. And this building, at one time, we had a budget estimate as high as 140 million. And we've got it down below at 99 million, with 13 million more coming off for the recreational opportunity, so that's 86 million. And I believe we're going to find even more savings as we move through this process. To me, this has been worked on for a while, and I absolutely support this project. It's something that we need to do. I've heard from the other side that doesn't want Facebook and talk to me about they're in favor of this because it makes sense. This makes sense. The finances are in place. You've done a lot of work to get to here, and all of a sudden you're getting cold feet. I get it. I hear it. I see some of it on Facebook. But I'll tell you what, it's a decision that is for the best interest of this community. It's going to pay off in the end. One day you need to own your own facility. You cannot just sit there and I don't understand where you think of 3P, and it could work. I don't know. I'm not an expert in that right now either, but I'll tell you, nobody's building a building for free. They want their recovered money. So there's somewhere in there, there's going to be a profit line for them. Our profit line boils out in 20 years. We have a 20-year mortgage on our building that's going to be paid off, and we're going to have savings of $400,000 or $350,000 a year in 20 years from now, per year. And the financing is already in place for this. So it's not like we're impacting the residents. It's there. We've been doing this project for a long time. So to me, I'm okay with this. It's a tough decision. I'm prepared to go to the doors and knock on the doors in 2026 and make it an election issue if it has to be. But I'm prepared to stand behind this, and I think this building is what this community needs now. It redevelops our downtown. It helps. It starts it's the cornerstone of what we're going to do in our downtown, because everybody talks about we'd like to see our downtown thrive a little bit more. Well, this is the cornerstone. You're going to have hundreds of people in that building working downtown, supporting the local business downtown. So if you want reinvestment, you got to be there. You got to be there yourself. So to me, I'm okay with this moving forward. I think this has been a long time coming, and our staff have done a great job of putting this project together. And I know that it's going to be a savings for our community over the life of this building. This is a building that's in 20 years paid off and will be there for 50 or better. And we'll always have other issues going forward, but we'll work through those as years move on.
May I call point of interest, if I can? Just because I know you were just coming and commenting more along my lines, so if I may.
Well, I was kind of commenting to everybody. A point of interest, go ahead.
Thank you. And with respect, I hear what you're saying. It is a tough decision, but regards to, this term, we've been engaging with the public a lot more than we ever have. And it's being received really well as well. And then you make a comment that you say you're prepared to put it on the as an election issue. But how would you do that if we make this decision today? Because then that decision will already be made. But then we haven't even really sourced if there is other financial capabilities in regards to PPP. So how do we know we're making the best financial decision if we haven't even considered the PPP and that hasn't come back to us? And that's with respect.
Yeah, no, I agree. I hear you. I'll go to others to comment now. Who did I have up? Councillor Scott's got a hand up?
Thanks. I don't want to repeat things that were said. Just to say, there were a few references made earlier in the meeting that I think conflated the borrowing costs with the total project costs. We are in fact borrowing less in the financial plan than the total cost for what that's worth. I would still like to see, and it can be a standalone exercise, but I would still like to see a real estate property divestment strategy over the next year or so that could be used to offset the cost of this, along, of course, with grants from the federal or provincial government. I was under the impression, and the CAO can correct me if I'm wrong, but I was under the impression that a previous council had looked at a public-private partnership, and for the very good reason that the profit margin that a private corporation would need, they determined that designing, building, and owning was the more financially viable option. So I hear Councillor Giordano's idea, but I think the CAO had indicated that we've done that due diligence at a previous term of council. Finally, I'll just say, yes, we're elected to make tough decisions. I think the past 2 or 3 terms of council have put us in a position where not only have we been saving up for this, but we also have some meaningful sunk costs at this point. It was put on our strategic initiatives at the beginning of the term, and then every interim step when staff checked in, up until the last 2 or 3 passed unanimously. So every gate we've been through, council has supported continuing to spend money. And now we're at the point of tender, and I take some relief for if it comes back over budget, we have the option not to proceed, of course. If it comes back at or under budget, I think I'm in a position to make a decision that I frankly ran on in 2020 and ran for re-election again in 2022, being very transparent that I thought a civic center with the long desired performing arts theater, a rec center for the older end of town, and a consolidated administrative building. I was clear with my residents that I'd work to deliver that. And so from a public consultation standpoint, in addition to everything else that's been said, I feel pretty confident that even this past weekend at our Ward 2 town hall meeting, it was a good discussion. There's always people who are nervous or who are naysayers, but I was reminded this morning that the magazines and newspapers of Paris at the time wanted to hang Gustave Eiffel because they thought the tower was going to be a waste of money. At a more prosaic and more local example, people thought the town square next to the library was a waste of money and too much concrete. And then when it opened, people got it. They saw the vision. So I think the decision we're making today comes after a lot of due diligence and a lot of work by staff and previous councils and this council. And I'm content to move forward with the tendering process and see what comes back. And if it comes back negative, we don't have to proceed at that point. But if it comes back positive, I'm comfortable saying we've done our due diligence, and the long-term financing makes complete sense to me. And it's the kind of business sense where you know when an investment is necessary in order to save money in the long run.
Okay, thank you. I've got Councillor Dehaney. You're muted.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So this is a very big investment for our municipality, and of course, a big turning point as well. And if you ask me, it's a turning point into a very good direction, right? And I know that Mayor, express your passion, and of course, many of us are passionate about having the civic center as well. But I believe it will actually kind of put the resident at peace, knowing that we're listening to them. I understand that we have done consultations over the years, but keep in mind that we have people that are moving in and out that are not aware. And I understand, yes, that is also council's duty to keep their residents informed, right? However, I don't think having another consultation, engaging, because again, this is a big thing. It's a big deal. It should be something, it's very exciting, right? For our community. It's going to boost our economy, definitely, because of the state of the art theater that we're having in, and it will attract definitely revenues, right? So I think having the discussion again, some form of consultations with the residents again, You know what I mean? We'll kind of let them know that we're listening to them so that they can also have their input. I get it that we have it already. I don't think it hurts. I understand that this decision that we're making here today is not the final decision. It is a decision so that staff can go out there and look for basically prospects, right? So I totally get that. We already spent $5 million on this project. We're 30% in the project, right? And we want people on board. We understand it's a big decision that we have to make, tough decision, right? But again, if we engage the public, you will be surprised. But if we just, doing our own thing, and they're gonna feel as if they're being ignored, they're not being listened to. I believe entertaining them at the table would be good, right? We understand, yes, we are going to build a civic center. We get it. But I don't think it hurts, in having another final consultation and said, hey, this is what we're doing. Have their inputs. And I think it will feel much better for the residents. I don't think it hurt. And I just don't know why it is not being entertained. Why are we not trying to have it again? Right? Also, another thing, I know that the project will be going over budget for sure, definitely, right? What are the plans if we go over budget? Are we ready for that? What is the financial plan for that? Right now, as we can see, with the tariff and what's going on with the economy, growth right now is slowed down, right? Of course, we got to be very smart with what we're doing. Do we need a civic center? Definitely, because we have all our staff all over town, right? So definitely, I think we should have them in one place, and plus the other additional as well. But I think we should definitely engage the residents. Also, I would like to know, what are the plans if we go over budget? What does that look like if we go over budget? Because we will be going over budget, and I want to know what plans do we have in place when we go over budget, because definitely we're going to go over budget, and we're going to reach a state where it's too late now to turn back, right? So what are the plans if we should go over budget? Maybe the financial director can answer that question. If possible, that would be great.
I'll have the CO reply to you on that over budget.
Thank you.
Thanks, Your Worship. Over the past 12, well, at least 6 months, the cost estimates that we've had delivered for us, and Council recall when we first introduced this process, that as we move through each stage of the design, the cost estimates improve in refinement and anticipated accuracy. So they're getting more and more detailed. They've been trending downward, not upward. So I don't think it's a foregone conclusion at all that that awarded contract will be more than what we budgeted for. So I don't agree that that's a certainty. The budget that we have been carrying since at least 2020 is $107.8 million. Our current estimate is 99. So there is space there, notwithstanding the fact that, as I said, the estimates have been trending down. If the lowest bid that comes in is more than 107.8, then like any other procurement piece where we exceed budget, we would need to report back to council along with a plan as to how to address the overage. And to speculate today what that might be, it wouldn't be a proper course to take. But again, with any other capital project, if it exceeds budget, we report back and seek council's direction on that.
Thank you, Jeff. May I follow up, please, Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you for that. So in regards to the consultation, again, as I said, I know us agreeing tonight is not the final say to the project, right? I would like to put a recommendation, same as Councillor Harper, to have the public engagement while we are out there shopping for bidders. So while staff is out there, we give them the go ahead today, agree with the project at this point, but can we plan a consultation with the residents that are of interest as well, please.
Yeah, we can do that. We can go out and consult with our public, no problem. I just want to make a further comment on the overage. When we did the leisure center and the library, these two buildings next to us, that we're in, this one and the one next to us, council went through the same process way back in 2006, and we started in 2006 planning and financing it. In 2012, we built the buildings, and it was, both of them came in under budget. The leisure center was a $45 million budgeted item. We came in at 42. Both came in under budget because we worked through the process for 6 years before we actually went to the project. So we were pretty good on our financing. At that time was Tom Graham. We were pretty good on our numbers, and they both came in under budget. So it's not always that the municipal budgets come in over. If it's done right and planned accordingly, you can actually come within budget at times. So I just wanted to comment that we've done that for that building, and it was under budget. Those were under budget buildings. So quite proud of that. So, and yeah, most recent. Councillor Dehaney, I'm going to go to the Deputy Mayor, and then I'll come back to you if you want to add to your. Okay, so Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think it's time to move on. As you said, the budget for this was 107, and this council, even at last committee meeting, shaved off $2.5 million and came down to 99. As to the comment about guaranteed going over, last 10 years, any project that our staff took over has been on time and on budget. Every single project, whether it was Church Street, the fire hall, the public yards, or any parks works that was done. And that's for public record. Anyone can go and check that. We have to make a decision at some point. We heard the longest serving councillor in our municipality say that years ago they looked at it, they wanted to do it, it was $12 million to $14 million. But they didn't do it. If they had done it, this wouldn't be costing us 99 now, or whatever the number comes back. And I think with the market now, everyone's itching to work. We might get some bidder that come back and say, if you change this, the cost might be this much lower. We don't know that. I think we need to move. We're paying $459,000 in rent and $844 in rent, $500,000 just in rent every year to someone else. And we have staff that's at many different locations. We heard at the Ward 2 CAN meeting where people say they're confused. They go to one site and they're told to go to another one. They go to another. They said, oh no, by the way, you got to go back here. And not to mention our staff, when they have to attend meetings, they all have to drive somewhere to be at central location to attend meetings. It's very important. Your management efficiencies are better when your staff is under one roof. It's a proven fact. When your staff is somewhere else and your management team is somewhere else, you know the results. So I think we have to make the tough decision and move on with this project. Are we saying that we're not going to look for more savings? Yes, we are. We have to. That's our job. And we will continue to do that. If there's opportunities, like Councillor Giordano said, that something comes up where, you know, they're footing the bill and it's going to help us, yes, definitely this council will look at it. But I think we need to make a hard decision that we were elected for. You're going to get 100% support behind it from public? No, you will never get. You will always have people with reservations. It's our job to listen to them and hear them and see how we can address their concerns. But at the end of the day, we were elected to make tough decisions, and I'm ready to move on this.
Okay, I've got Councillor Ferragini, and then I'll go back to Councillor Dehaney and Councillor Harper.
Thank you. Going through this whole process, it has been many years, and the money has been put aside over the years. And I've always looked at this, I mean, similar comments that have already been made around the table, so I don't want to sit on it too long, but I have looked at this as in purchasing a home. You have a mortgage, you purchase the home, after X amount of years, mortgage is paid off, you now own the property. We're looking at a 20 years for the debt, and then after that, as was already quoted, we save $356,000 a year. Right now, we're paying close to $500,000 in leases. You take a look at our staff. We are a growing municipality. We continuously need more staff. We actually have staff members working in hallways right now. So to combine them all into one space, it makes a lot more sense for the residents. Plus, we're going to need the extra space anyway, so we're going to have to rent more spaces out, which is going to be more increases to the leases. Didn't mean for that to sound like that, but anyway, I think this is an important decision. In regards to Councillor Duhaney saying that this is not the final, if this goes to tender, and I just want to make sure everybody understands this, if this goes to tender and the quote comes in, I'm sorry, Jeff, did you say under 107 or is it under the new amount of 99? The budget is 107. If the tender comes back and it's 107 or less, the project moves forward. It doesn't come back to council. So this is a final decision. So just so you understand, Councillor Duhaney, about how that works, because if it does come over budget, then it will come back to council and we will have that decision. But tonight, if it does come back and it's under what's budgeted, then this project will move forward. So I find with these types of buildings, it's always very hard to accept it at first when it's on a piece of paper and you're seeing the numbers. I get it. We were fiscally responsible. We did put the money aside. You go to other municipalities who have things like this, and the first thing you say is, wow, this is a beautiful building. Oh, look at this. Why doesn't Bradford have anything like this? We have buildings all over the place. And another point, this is separate from the actual building itself. We constantly have requests for more commercial space in our town. Our staff are taking up 4 units of commercial space in our town. That's 4 less shops, shopping experiences, stores that we can have. When we get out of these places, the plazas can actually go back to what they're meant for, and that's for commercial shopping and have residents have more options in the town for commercial. So that's another thought that came up when I was thinking about this. So looking at the numbers, it makes sense to me. Is it a big ticket item? Absolutely. To the resident who came forward talking about the numbers, is it a rush? 4-6 years down the road we could look at it. Potentially that could go up another 20, 30, 40 million dollars. We don't know. This is what's happened to this point by waiting. But we have already done the waiting because we started so long ago and we actually put the money aside for it. So to me, this makes sense and it's better for the municipality as a whole.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, I've got, and I'll put Councillor, okay, so I've got to go to Duhaney, Councillor Harper, and then Councillor Giordano.
Thank you, Mayor. So like I said before, I do support the project. I definitely believe it is a big turning point for our municipality. However, again, I am going to stress on it. We need to have that open house for the residents. Also, have we considered maybe doing the project in 2 parts? Meaning, the leisure center, maybe having the state-of-the-art and another gym in that same area, make it even bigger, more space, because I know space is an issue for our community, and the downtown area where we have basically admin offices, where we split the project in half. So we focus more on the town hall side of it, and maybe the state-of-the-art at one of our town sites, which is by the leisure center, make it even a bigger space where we can also have graduation and host over 1,000 residents, right, in that area. Because again, we need space, and we can also have different areas where we rent out the rooms. So instead of doing it maybe in that one project, maybe split the project in half and have it in 2 different locations. So that was just something I don't know if it was considered. Instead of having everything under the one roof, maybe have the state-of-the-art by the leisure center and the theater, make it even a bigger one. Just a suggestion, but as I said, I really believe we should engage our residents. It is very important for them to know that we're listening to them.
Okay, thank you. That's I've got Councillor Harper and Councillor Giordano.
Mayor, I didn't get my question answered. Was
Sorry?
it ever considered?
Was it ever considered to do separate projects?
Yeah.
I can ask our CEO to answer it.
The plan presently in front of council has gone through many iterations over the years, each step along which council endorsed the programming that was proposed. So for this particular project, we did not look at dividing up and doing it in multiple stages or locations. To do so would add to the budget as opposed to making it smaller. Having said that, council has adopted a leisure services master plan update that does look at what the growing municipality's future needs are, and there are additional capital facilities, including at least a second rec center and either a second library or a major addition. That's all part of the multi-year plan that council has adopted. So, I think the separate pieces that Councillor Dehaney is referring to will come in time, but they weren't part of the plan currently in front of council with respect to the Civic Center project.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, and maybe just further to add that, Councillor Dehaney, I know when we looked at the building, we looked at it at three components, and one of them being recreation, because we knew we were short for recreation. We didn't have we need gymnasiums. There's no offense or buts. We've had meetings with the school boards. Their gyms are packed. They're rented out steady. We don't have any room in our leisure center. We know we need a second leisure center eventually. This was one way of getting us our gymnasium a little earlier without building a full leisure center. It allowed us to bring some more programming, so to make it a town building. It's a community building basically, and adding that performance center in, we don't have a theater, so it allowed us to have our dance clubs and everybody else come to this, to come to this building and be part of that building. So again, we looked at it from a three-component system, so that it wasn't just about a town hall. It was a civic center where it allowed residents to come and enjoy that facility for multiple reasons. So I've got Councillor Harper next, and then Councillor Giordano.
Thanks, Mayor. Okay, so look, I understand there's no question that one day this town's going to need a town hall, civic center. Our community is definitely growing. It's growing fast. Eventually, we're going to outgrow that, and we have, right? But right now, I'm talking on residents. They're stretched. Taxes are up. The cost of living, it's high. And, when we talk about major builds, we can't do it without the people's backing. I understand the words you're using, that, put in this position to make hard decisions and you're confident making that decision. I get it. It comes across as a little bit of microaggression, but I don't conform to that. Because how can you build something, and I appreciate my colleague's response, but you haven't given me any numbers on how many people you have backing it, your decision. You just say you're making your decision. So I put that back to you. I'm not against the progress. Don't take me wrong. I'm not really against the spending, but I can't do it without the public's consent. I want to build smarter, not faster. And when you keep saying, well, I'm ready to make a decision right now, you're rushing. Why? Are you afraid? If you heard from the residents, it wouldn't be in the interest of what you want? I don't know. Make sure the residents are the ones, driving the decision when the time is right, not yourself. So I will not make the decision to move forward unless I do have the public consent. And I need a number. We're built on data.
Okay, thank you. I've got Councillor Giordano, and then we'll wrap it up with that.
So let me first off say I'm a visionary. I didn't have a lot of support at the beginning for the public square, and I don't bend to social media. In fact, I educate. And the more and more people that stepped into that once it was done and built, they said, holy smokes, on paper, wow, I didn't support it. Now, after using it, I love the space. And even some of the haters apologized to me for coming at me, saying that that was actually, and it's not me, it's all of council that supported it in the end. The point I'm trying to say is, I pushed hard in our strategics, our original committee before it got dismantled, amalgamated into this mega committee. I pushed hard for the auditorium aspect because, number one, we're not getting a movie theater anytime soon. And imagine having movies in the park moved indoors to, movies in the hall or whatever, all winter long, and a place for our kids to go. All the dance recitals, all that lost revenue, all the potential opportunities to have singer-songwriters, young artists, whatever it is, brought into it. It to me, that makes sense, especially because it's probably it could be grant funded. So I did push hard for a lot of these things to get added and amended to the town hall complex because I see value in it. Again, if you want my support on this, there has to be a public-private partnership model that is feasible. But you're basically holding a decision to me right now, saying that I have to decide yay or nay. As long as it comes under $107 million, this thing's happening. Some rough numbers: at $100 million, at $500,000 a year for rent, that's 200 years. Okay, let's say 50% of that. So let's say it's a $50 million. That's a 100-year payback. My kids will be dead in the ground by the time we keep paying the $500,000. Now, okay, rent will go up and whatnot. But the point I'm trying to say is, I think that there's a other financial opportunity that would be more beneficial, and then we could take that money if we are going to go into debt. Let's build another leisure center, everything else, and get that going. We need stuff for kids to do now and today, not 20 years from now, not 10 years. I know we have a master plan, but we got to fund that master plan. So if we can find a public-private partnership, you'd get my support on this because I love the idea of the project. If it was my money, sure, no problem. It's not my money. It's everybody's money. It's the taxpayers' money. And I don't have enough support to say, you know what, I want to take that debt on right now. But I think with the public-private partnership model or something like that, we can also, they'll invest that same tax burden if they were getting leisure centers and this and that and everything else for them on one side, while you're also getting the town hall and the theater and everything else on the other. I think that's the missing kind of model that we have. But unless the motion is amended to include the public-private partnership and then a decision made which option we decide, I can't support it at this time.
Okay, thank you. And okay, last comment then, because I do want to figure out how we're going to move forward.
Just a question. So when we go to tender and the numbers come forward, can we still not look to private companies to help offset some costs? Can we not look to private companies to fund certain rooms, sections? The auditorium could be somebody's name and they pay X amount, similar to what will be done at a hospital. Can we not still do that?
So the answer is yes. We can do all that. We haven't even started. We did the same thing here with this building, Vitality. We ran a Vitality campaign, which was fundraising for doors, rooms, and everything else. I'm positive that will be part of the process in the end. There is opportunities for all that out there. We haven't went down that path, but yes, that's a doable situation. Okay, so I've got this on the floor. We're going to put this on the floor, 17.2, 1 through 10, so that the committee minutes and recommendations items 17.2, 1 through 10, inclusive, be received and approved. We've got that on the floor. Do I have a mover to second for that yet? Okay, I have a mover to seconder. So I'm going to call for all in favor of that. All in favor?
Point of order, can I do recorded vote, please?
Yeah, okay. So they've called a recorded vote. Go ahead.
Okay, for the motion that's on the floor, please state yes in support and no in opposition. Councillor Nicholas Harper.
Without consent of the people, I vote no.
Councillor Geraldine Duhaney,
Yes.
Councillor Peter Ferragini,
Yes.
Councillor Joseph Giordano,
Wish my motion was added, but no.
Councillor Jonathan Scott,
Yes.
Councillor Ben Verkuyk,
You're muted.
Yes.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Raj Sandhu,
Oh,
Yes.
and Mayor James Leduc.
yes.
The motion is carried.
All right, thank you for that. Good back and forth. We're on to 17.2.12. That's the senior safety zone. Are we good with that, to approve that? I know you want 14 pulled, correct, Councilor Giordano? You still want 14 pulled?
Yes.
Is everybody good with 12 and 13? So, pardon? Oh, yes, 11, the always stop review. You're good with that, right? So 11, 12, and 13, can we pass those? So recommendation is that 17, 1, 11, 12, and 13 be approved. Okay. 1 at 15? Okay. Okay. Yep. Is that the last one? Okay, yep. So, and 15. So 17, 11, 12, 13, and 15. Be approved. Received and be approved. Okay? Mover to seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Harper, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Questions or concerns on any of them? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, we're on to 17 to 14. And you wanted that pulled, Councillor Giordano, so please go ahead.
So, Mayor, can you just remind me, when we had this on the table, we asked for two things. Number one, you adjusted the percentages, and number two, we asked staff to go back and readjust, or go to market again, come back. They ended up finding significant savings. Can you remind me what that percentage split was and why we did it? And do we still need to do it now that we found all those savings?
It was included in Ian's report. The percentage adjustment was also included in there. It moved us from 65 to 38. Am I right, Ian? Can you recall the number? It did reduce it. From 50-50 to 64. Yeah, we went 60, it was 60-40 percentage, but it moved the number by 38,000, I think. Do you have that number handy, Ian? Yeah,
For me, it was more the reasoning why we did that again. I'm trying to get clarification.
Because it was subject to Ian's looking through the process, but the issue was that I said 18 acres. It's a 26-acre parcel. 18 acres is recreation no matter what. It could be even more. The house by itself was sitting as the property. So if you sold the house by itself with maybe 3 or 4 acres on it, maybe 7. I just said 18 versus the balance of 6 or 7 acres. I said to me it was more made sense of a 60-40, and he said he could justify it in his mind that it was fine, that it could be done that way. So that's why he went with 60-40. And then it adjusted the tax levy payment downward by taking 10% away from it. And it was just because of the size of the parcel of land, and I thought, well, the majority of it is staying there. There's over 60% of that property staying within our recreation. So it allows us to use the DC funding for that. So that's how it shifted it. More DC funding went towards the property. So what did it shift the total by, Ian, if you can recall?
Yes, you're quite right. The funding of the Line 11 property was initially suggested to be 50-50 funding, and it was altered to 60-40, so 60% growth related and then 40% non-growth related. So when we first wrote to council, we estimated around $483,000 would be required from the tax levy budget to fund the non-growth share of this debt issue. We already had $419,000 baked into the budget, so it is requiring an additional $64,000 to be added to the budget for 2026. after going back out to market and doing that adjustment, there's $451,000 now required from tax levy budget. Again, we still have the same $419,000 baked into the current budget, so now it only requires a $32,000 additional funding in 2026.
That explain it? Yeah. You okay with that now? Well, it saved us some tax levy money. So I have 17 to 14. 17 to 14. So that the committee minutes and recommendations, item 17 to 14, be received and approved. Mover and seconder. Moved by Councillor Giordano, second by Councillor Ferragini. Questions or concerns with it? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, we got that done. We got to move on because we're running out of members. Okay, 17.3 Green Initiatives Advisory Committee. So we have 17.3.12. Yeah, 17.3.12 and 17.4. Would we be able to add it all in one shot? Is there anybody wants anything pulled from the Green Initiatives Advisory Committee? Pardon? Yeah, 3 items. Oh, okay, yeah, 1, 2, 3, yes, sorry. And then and Heritage Committee minutes, 17.4, 1, 2, 3. Is there a 4? And a 4, yeah. Are we okay to pass that all together in one shot? Anybody want anything pulled? So the recommendation would be that 17.3, 17.3, yeah, the committee minutes and recommendations, item 17.3 to 17.4 inclusive, be received and approved. That makes sense, Madam Clerk? Okay. Okay, gentlemen, is that fine for now? Is everybody good with that? So do I have a mover and a seconder for this? Councillor Kite, Councillor Scott, moved and seconded. Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. We are on to, there's no new business bylaws. I have recommendation that bylaws 2025-77 and 2025-100 be passed. That 77 delegated authority bylaw. And then we have the business licensing bylaw amendment in 100. Mover and a seconder, put this on the floor, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Ferragini. Questions, concerns with the bylaws? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Did we get everybody? Oh, you have a question? Sorry, a question, go ahead. Before you vote.
Was really loud. Okay, so 19.1. Yeah, let me just make sure I got everything here. Yeah, it's all contained under 19.1. Okay, so just ask away. All right, so number 1, I'm looking at so section, I guess it's section A under number 1. My question is, with strong mayor powers, one person can direct the staff, or can one person direct the staff when it comes to, let me see here. I'm just trying to read this all. I have all my notes screenshot. So section A, number 1 and number 2, the development, approve, and implement administrative policies, procedures, and practices, as well as exercise control and management of the affairs of the town. So it's the CAO and delegate. So how does that work with the strong mayor powers? That's question number 1. Point number 4, section B, overall, I want to make it easy for right growth and development partnerships with third parties, but my issue is under section 4, I'm trying to get this all figured out here. I want to make sure the hands of the staff. Okay, so with the strong mayor directive, how does that play into that as well under the section B overall? Let me go to section 14, provide submissions, and the Alcohol Gaming Commission of Ontario regards to the store authorization and applications for cannabis stores located in town. Can we adjust those parameters? So based on the following, I know that there's certain 150 meters from daycares and everything else. There's some parameters that are put in place there that the private cannabis retailer stores are not permitted within 150 meters of each other. Are those parameters adjustable as well? And if so, can we make those changes if we delegate that authority? And Schedule C, Section 4, 5, and 6. It actually says that the mayor has authority to sign authorized checks and have access to the general bank account on behalf of the town. Is that correct?
So who wants to answer the first one? Okay. The first question was on the delegated authority CAO, correct? Okay. Do you want to answer that, or I can?
So the strong mayor powers with respect to authorities delegated to staff are only relevant when there is a conflict between the statutory authority of the strong mayor versus whatever municipal delegation bylaw states. So for example, and this is not what is set out in the delegation bylaw, under the strong mayor power, there are certain senior officers that the mayor has the responsibility for hiring and firing, unless that's delegated to staff or council. And that's still the case. That has not been delegated. So if there was something in the delegation bylaw that gave that authority to the CAO, that would conflict and not apply. Otherwise, it's irrelevant. And I'm afraid that's the only one I recall from the list you came out with. It was quite the number. If you're looking for responses prior to being able to support this, I'm not sure we'd be able to get to them all properly tonight.
So did we get a list of the questions? Did anybody get a list of the questions? Okay, Councillor Giano, the one about the mayor signing checks or whatever, I don't think I've signed checks, but.
Well, it's in here. That's why I'm questioning it, right? So on Section C under 4, 5, and 6, it says sign checks issued by the town upon the town's general bank account, any two of the treasurer, deputy treasurer, CAO, clerk, or mayor.
Yeah, well, that would be normal. Yes, that would be normal. That's any two. And it's the delegated authority of all. It's always like that, so that's not really changed anything. So, and then the other one was, what was the other issue?
The Alcohol and Gaming Commission, so if the delegation of authority for them to approve, but my question is those parameters that are in place, who set those parameters? Do we have the ability to change those parameters?
The province set those parameters, but go ahead, you comment.
The council did set a review policy for applications that get submitted. That's probably where that would best sit. It doesn't really affect the delegation authority. Having said that, to date, the commission has shown very little regard for the comments that we provide to them on the applications, so it could be a moot point to make those revisions. And there are certain elements that are enshrined within the legislation. So for example, municipality can't require or obligate the commission to not allow a cluster of the cannabis stores. So I know that's not a lot of clarity, but in any event, if council wants to adjust the policy that staff referred to when commenting on applications, that's certainly within your purview to do that.
Section D, dash 22. So obviously, you know, being the one before I was on council, coming and doing the deputation and doing a test on street parties and all that other stuff and going through it, it's worked pretty well. The problem is, if we delegate the authority, what mechanisms does council have in place for those bad actors that end up breaking the law or putting the town at risk? I'm all for delegation of authority, but what's the mechanism? Do we have a mechanism to call it back? Or obviously staff are going to be doing their due diligence and stuff like that on it. But again, there's you know, when there's issues at play, or if this needs to get honed back in, is that something that council has to call back into question after the fact and then readjust them? Because I'm all for making it easier and getting permits out there, but how do we ensure that people aren't taking advantage and they're not they're not exploiting the opportunities.
So the bad actors you're referring to, are those the folks that are running the events, or the staff delegated with the authority to issue permits for the events? So going to the delegation bylaw, it's fully within council's discretion to revise that whenever you see fit. With respect to someone improperly conducting an event, that could happen whether or not it's staff that issues a permit or council. It's something that we have to monitor. We do a post-event debrief with the permit holder. If there issues arose that we need to bring to their attention, and we would. If they're so egregious that we would not consider their applications in the future, they'd be advised at that point.
Did answer both your questions then? Okay, good. So did I move in a seconder for these two? So all in favor of the bylaws, 77 and 100? 1, 2, 3. All in favor? Carried. Okay, I think we got it through. Yep. Okay, we're on to notice of motions. Motions and notice of motions. Any notice of motion?
Yes, sorry, Your Worship. I submitted a notice about an advocacy motion on removing the HST on new homes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for that. Okay, we'll see you at the next council meeting then. All right, we're on to announcements, 21.1, general announcements. All right, put the announcements up. So council announcements. We have proclamations, flag raisings. We had Probus Club month, October. We did a flag raising ceremony. It was held last week. National Breastfeeding Week, October 1st to the 7th. Flag raising ceremony was held last week. And Fire Prevention Week is October 5th to the 11th. A proclamation only. On to council announcements. We have up and coming events. So we have up and coming Ward 1 CAN meeting. It's on Wednesday, November 12th from 7 to 9 at the Fire Station 1, 77 Melbourne. And then the next one after that we have Ward 3, Councillor Verkijk, Saturday, November 22nd, 10 a.m. to 12 at the Bondhead United Church at 4221 Simcoe Road 88. So that's Ward 1 with Councillor Geraldine Dehaney on November 12th, 7 to 9 at the Fire Station. And then Ward 3 with Councillor Verkijk, Saturday, November 22nd from 10 to 12 at the Bondhead Community Church. Up and coming events. We have our Holland Marsh Centennial Art Contest reception is Thursday, October 16th, 6 to 7:30 p.m. here at the Public Library. Experience to celebrate the artwork that was submitted to the library's Holland Marsh Art Contest, and you can see behind us on screen probably some art that's behind us. Beautiful artworks are on the wall. Come and view them if you'd like. Pumpkin Fest also Saturday, October 18th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Henderson Memorial Park. Pumpkins, wagon rides, games, music, fun, farmers market, and more. Bring a non-perishable food item in support of the Bradford Food Bank. We also have Nightmare on Colburn Street, October 21st to October 25th. Less Scary is from 4 to 5:45, and More Scarier from 6:15 to 8 p.m. at the Bradford Youth Recreation Center on Colburn at Lions Park. $3 cash entry for that. Come and enjoy some scary activities. And then we have Fire Prevention Week. Fire Prevention Week campaign, charge into fire safety. Lithium-ion batteries in your home aims to educate communities on making smart choices when it comes to buying, charging, and recycling lithium-ion batteries. Follow along on social media for tips throughout the week, and that's www.townofbwg.com/fire prevention for that. Other events and campaigns, we have the Accessible Advisory Committee meeting. Join us at for the meeting on Monday, October 27th at 7 p.m. at the Community Hub, 177 Church. That's our Community Hub on Monday, October 27th at 7 p.m. Come and see, come and visit our Accessibility Advisory Committee and see all the great work they do. We also have the Youth Council Advisory Committee. If you are a resident from age 12 to 18 who is looking to get involved in the youth initiatives within our community, we are looking for members for our new Youth Advisory Committee. Deadline to apply is November 12th, 2025 at 4 p.m. So if you'd like to join our youth committee, you're age 12 to 18. We're looking for new members for next year. It's www.townofbwg.com/YCAC. We also have our youth scholarship program. So $5,000 in scholarships are available. 5 awards of $1,000 each for local high school graduates and post-secondary students. Apply by November 10th, 2025 at 4 p.m. So that's our local youth scholarship program. Apply by November 10th by 4 p.m. and it's at www.townofbwg.com/scholarship. So let's get out there and apply if you're a high school student or a post-secondary student. And our last announcement for tonight is we have Thanksgiving coming this weekend. So everybody have a great Thanksgiving. Our offices will be closed. Our admitted office is closed October 13th. Our no transit service on October 13th. Leisure Center is also closed. The library is closed on October 12th and 13th. Have a fun and safe long weekend. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody coming this weekend. And that's our announcements. Do we have a county council update, sir? No county council update? Okay. Okay, we are on to one final thing I need to do before we close out this meeting. I want to make a public apology. I'd like to take this opportunity to address comments I made in September of last year during a live public radio interview following council's vote on whether to provide a special permit that would have allowed the Amadea in Canada to hold their 2025 convention in our community. The issues debated by council on that application all related to perfectly legitimate traffic and planning issues caused by the exceptionally large turnout expected on agricultural lands on a rural road. In the radio interview, I made remarks that suggested some members of this council, which I wrongly and inaccurately identified as new members of council, were motivated by xenophobia in casting their votes against the permit. Upon much reflection, I recognized that my comments were inaccurate, inappropriate, and unfair. Let me be clear. I regret those remarks. Mr. Oakley provided me an opportunity to put to rest any suggestion that members of this council voted the way they did because of xenophobia, and I failed to do that. Those comments did not show respect for a fair vote of council and impunged the motives of certain members. I was wrong. Each member of council is elected to serve their constituents with integrity and thoughtfulness. While we may disagree, sometimes passionately, on matters before us, it is essential that we maintain mutual respect and uphold the dignity of this chamber and respect other members of council's right to disagree. I failed to meet that standard. I sincerely apologize to my colleagues and friends on this council and to the public for mischaracterizing these councillors. I am recommitting myself to fostering respectful dialogue and working collaboratively with all members of council in service of our great community. As your mayor, I must be willing to reflect on my actions, acknowledge when I fall short, and use these moments as opportunities to grow. In doing so, I have come to see this as a moment for improvement. To that end, I'll be recommending that the Integrity Commissioner provide training on best practices for respectful communication, particularly when engaging with public media. It is vital that we, as public servants, communicate in ways that are respectful, responsible, and reflective of the trust placed in us by our constituents. I will happily take that training and propose that it be made available to the rest of council so that we may all be on the same page. So, council, I apologize. I thank you for listening, and we'll close out this meeting. I apologize. Confirm proceedings. Recommendation that bylaw 2025-101, a bylaw to confirm proceedings of the regular council and committee of whole meeting dated October 7, 2025, be enacted. Moved by Councillor Dano, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. All in favor? Carried. Adjournment. The recommendation, the meeting hereby adjourned at 10:41.
Moved by Councillor Verkuyk, seconded by Councillor Dehaney. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.